up, everybody? It is Friday night, August, my God, I keep forgetting we're in September 4th, 2020. We are less than 24 hours away from AEW All Out, which I think is going to be an awesome pay-per-view, stacked from top to bottom. I'll be live Saturday night, 5 minutes after the pay-per-view ends, right here as always. So I hope you can all join me. And big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to everybody who's live right now. Just finished SmackDown. 3 matches. Quality over quantity. That's what I always say, to be honest with you. Interesting opponent for Roman Reigns at Clash of Champions. And anybody that follows my Twitter already is prepared to what I'm going to show in a little bit. But, if you enjoy this episode, yes, like Austin is saying in the chat, if you enjoy the episode, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. And I'll give everybody out there one of many reasons to come as to why you should subscribe. I got a little bad news for everybody out there tonight. I got some bad news. I sound like a Texan now instead of wait. Big shout out to Ariane. Loves me from Toronto. Much love to Toronto as well, man. Absolutely. You know, I always say it. I don't care if you live 5 blocks from me or 5 million miles away. I try to treat everybody the same. I try to do my hardest for all of you out there. And believe me, working hard is not just a physical thing. It's an emotional thing, too. I'm not kidding, and I swear to God, I'm not pandering to all of you right now. But when I prepare for these shows, and, this is my 24th year doing stuff, but when I prepare for these shows and you start putting things together and you know what you're going to talk about, and when things come organically, there's clarity. And that's the thing. I always have preached authenticity since 1997. What you see is pretty much what you get. People could sound nice, they could type nice, but, if you pay very close attention, there's a lot that's being hidden. And if it's being hidden, especially in 2020, there's a reason. There's a reason. But when you are organic and you're natural, and you just go with your instinct and not based on what gives you a certain number of likes or what feels good over here. And believe me, when we talk about Vince McMahon and the threats that he's doing, telling his staff, WWE employees, you have 30 days to get off of Twitch. You got 30 days to get off of Cameo. We'll talk about that later. Because once again, nothing wrong with feeling. There's nothing wrong with empathy. There's nothing wrong with having a heart. But you also have to think with this. And people out there that actually think that Vince McMahon believes that he owns legal names, those people don't know what a contract is. They can't even handle a paper route. That's why I always say, when that big story broke in Saudi Arabia and the mainstream news sites out there, and I'm not talking about PW Insider and OneWrestling.com and Observers, I'm talking CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, when none of them are covering WWE in Saudi Arabia, stuck. They're not covering it. Chances are what you're being fed is not actually the truth. And that's what happened. When you see the stock and you see COVID era, yes, it's messed up for people who lose their jobs during COVID. But this is $1 billion company, and that's why the stock has gone up 30%. It's business at the end of the day. I know it might be heartless at times, but notice all the people with this emotional, passionate plea. Nobody should be fired during COVID era. You think I want anybody fired during COVID era? Absolutely not. But I also know how the world goes round. And you see all these people on social media with these passionate tweets and 200 and 300 likes and this and that. And then you realize they don't even have a job themselves. And you realize for 6, 7, 8 months, they're complaining about having no job. And did you ever see them even make an attempt to find alternate work? For me, this is alternate work and other things as well. So now You have the situation with Twitch and Cameo and the WWE and Vince McMahon. And right away, man, Vince is fucked up and this and that. That's disgusting. And he thinks he owns people's legal names. But meanwhile, those people have never heard of something like this or something like this, which we'll talk about later. I'm not defending Vince McMahon. I think what he's doing is absolutely messed up. But I also realize that at the end of the day, you know, this isn't like MJF and Mark Sterling. This isn't like Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman looking at contracts. All these wrestlers that sign these deals have agents, million-dollar agents, and attorneys that look these contracts over. And they sign this. This contract has pretty much been the same for 20 years. Now, all of a sudden, it's heartless and disgusting. And it's a business at the end of the day. And you know what? Why don't we kick off with that? Let's kick off with that. Let's get it out of the way right now. You know, my original plan tonight was to follow up on what I did. And look, please, before I go any further, please, again, I don't know if I need to say it in Espanol, in Japanese, in Mexican, in Iranian, Arabic, Italian, you know, because sometimes English doesn't seem to comprehend for a lot of people out there. I am not defending Vince McMahon. I think what he's doing is a little bit heartless. But I also look at common sense and business and logic and legalese. You don't throw those aside because it gets you 30 retweets on social media. No, you got to think common sense. So I tell it like it is. I don't speak Polish, Sterling. I don't speak Polish. But I got to be straight out with everybody. I got to be honest, and I'm going to talk about it. So a couple of weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, I spent a lot of time compiling a list of all the WWE wrestlers, indie wrestlers, AEW legends that are on Cameo. And I gave you a list on how much they made. And you remember the friendly battle between Sasha Banks and Charlotte on Cameo? Well, a company put out a list. If I could give credit, yes, Good Brothers Digital PR. No, that's not Gallows and Anderson. That's an actual public relations company. They actually compiled, okay. Daniel Price says, so business is one thing. The guy saying he owns, they give him birth names. Daniel, give me a chance to explain that. Then after I explain it, if you still feel the way you feel, I totally respect that. Let me explain it later on. Let me explain it later. Just bear with me for a few minutes, okay? So, about a month and a half ago, I gave a whole list of what the wrestlers were charging on Cameo. Some people were grossly undercharging, some people charging way over, some people doing it for charity. So, the PR company called Good Brothers Digital, they put together a list of WWE stars and legends, not how much they're charging on Cameo, but how much they have pocketed so far. How much Cameo coin that they have generated. Yes, Mortalica, Alexa Bliss charges $300 to say hi. I told you, you know, if you actually, how many times did I do it on the show? You know, if you figure out how much that is per minute, it's $300-400 per minute. Actually, you know what? Let me give you specifics, because this company came up with a couple of top 10 lists, and that was going to be one of the topics I was going to talk about tonight. This was before the stuff with Vince McMahon. I already had this plan to get into tonight. So for those that are curious, the top 10 most expensive stars in the WWE on Cameo right now. And, you know, the average recording time is about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Some people will go 2 minutes. Oh, how generous of you. You gave me an extra 45 seconds of your time. That's what I have to say to that. I have no problem with anybody making money on Cameo. I have no problem with people trying to find alternate sources of income. But when you actually have to be precisely 1 minute and 15 seconds, and God forbid you go an extra minute to a minute and a half because you want to get your point across, and you rush off, and I'm not going to say any specific names, but a few people have brought some names to my attention. Like, could you shit on this person? I wasn't going to curse tonight, but could you goof on this person? This person was recording like 1,015,000 seconds. And he got to around the minute mark and was in the middle of his story. And I guess he realized that he was at the minute mark already, and he rushed this story off about 10 seconds. It's like, oh, thank you, bye. And I'm like, wow, what a dick. What a dick. So anyway. Rick, few people have asked me to join Cameo. If I ever did that, I'd do it for charity. Seriously, I do it all for charity. Because believe it or not, it's not just being good-hearted about it. You do need to do some charitable things so you can write off some of your money at the end of the year. That's actually a business tactic. That's why it blew me away that WWE was being so cheap with the COVID testing and everything else. That's tax deductible. You could write that off as a business expense. It's actually involved with medical. And, you know, here's the thing. I don't know exactly what the tax brackets are, but I'll tell you a little quick story. A lot of people know this already. But, you know, we have the Patreon. So we started it about a little over 3 years ago. And for the first 2 years, without naming any names, there was a few people involved with the Patreon. It's like, look, I want my money off the books. I want my money off the books. And, you know, I said, all right, well, you know, I'll try to write off some here and there, and, you know, we'll deduct a little bit for taxes, you know, because, so the end result was that me, with my regular job, I make X amount of dollars. So because other people wanted their money off the books, that money that was left over got taxed, it got added on, stacked on to what I make for my regular job. So what ended up happening, I went from this tax bracket to this tax bracket. I ended up owing the IRS over $5,000 that I'm still paying off now in payments, all because some people wanted money off the books. Now, they didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to try, nobody did, but I never realized that you go over by $2,000-$3,000 on a certain tax bracket, and it could be the difference between having to pay $1,000 back to IRS and $5,000. So what happens? You do a little charity at the end of the year. Why do you think a lot of jobs do Christmas bonuses? Why, because they're nice? Because they don't want to be Scrooge? They want to give Christmas gifts away? No, it's right before the end of the year. So they could write off gifts. And you write off charitable causes. Why do you think there's always an influx in huge charity donations, not just Santa Claus and the bells in the malls? So you donate to charity to get under tax brackets sometimes. So anyway, here you go. Top 10 most expensive WWE stars on Cameo. Ric Flair at number 1. He charges $440 a minute. A minute. Roman Reigns charges $394 a minute. Now, Roman Reigns actually charges $500 for a cameo, but it's a little over a minute. So they're basically going based on a little bit over a minute. That's why the per minute is a little bit less. All right. Alexa Bliss is number 3 at $296 a minute. Charlotte Flair is number 4. Actually, you know what? Forget the per minutes. Let's just do the top 10 because it's going to confuse everybody out there. Ric Flair is number 1 at $500. Roman Reigns tied for first with $500. Alexa Bliss charges $399. Charlotte Flair charges $380. Sasha $375. Remember 6 weeks ago, that little battle they were doing? Mandy Rose charges $250. Rey Mysterio charges $250. Peyton Royce charges $200. The ball's on her. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. Good for her, man. If she can bank that, good. Billy Kay charges $150. Something tells me that might be going down a little bit. No disrespect. And Kevin Owens charges $149, which I think is very reasonable. Now, some names noticeably absent on that list. You remember many, many years ago, I told all of you out there that if TNA and some companies would lower the price of their pay-per-views, they actually may make more money. And people were looking at me like I had 3 heads or maybe 15 fingers or something. They're like, what are you talking about? Lowering the price to make more money. And I told you all the story. When I first got into insurance in 1998, I basically didn't charge broker's fees. And by me not charging broker's fees, I actually made more money because people were coming to me because they realized I don't have to give this guy a broker's fee. So I ended up with a little bit extra money. So what would you rather have? 10,000 pay-per-view buys at $49 a pop, or maybe 40,000 pay-per-view buys at $25 a pop? So sometimes you charge a little bit less to get more. And perfect example of that, Big E. The top 10 highest earners on Cameo to date. And he hasn't been on Cameo all that long. Just goes to show you how popular it is. Number 1 right now, Big E has banked $62,509. In second place, Ric Flair banking $30,005. Think about that. Big E has doubled Ric Flair, who is number 2 on that list. Mandy Rose is 3rd with $22,500. Peyton Royce is 4th. God bless him, man. Seriously, $21,800. Roman Reigns is 5th with $18,000. Sasha is 6th with $16,000. Rey Mysterio is 7th with $15,000. Lacey Evans is 8th with $14,000. Kevin Owens at 10 G's at ninth place. And Kurt Angle, who's really not in the WWE anymore, but he'll be back, I hope. He is in 10th place with $9,300. So that is a top 10 as far as who's making the most so far. Now, outside of WWE, there is actually one wrestler who has made more money than anybody else. More than Big E, more than Ric Flair, actually has doubled Ric Flair. Can anybody out there guess? And if somebody guessed like this, you knew that they saw the list that I saw. But believe it or not, the top 10 highest earning legends right now. Yep, VJ, you are correct. Bret the Hitman Hart has banked $65,710 on Cameo. Mick Foley is number 2, puts a lot of that to charity. He has banked 35 grand. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, geez, 3rd place with 19 grand. Jerry the King Lawler at 9,600 and 4th. The Godfather with 9,400 and 5th. Ted DiBiase with 9 grand and 6th. Tony Rica. Why? I'm not besmirching him, but him? 5,600. 8th place, Coco Beware with 4,400. Lita in 9th place with 4,200. And Kevin Nash with a paltry 3,400. But he hasn't been on there all that. He sometimes takes a little breaks here and there. So those are your highest earners as far as WWE and beyond. So I was going to pretty much go with that. Now, then controversy broke today. The controversy is, and I asked a few people out there, it is legit. Vince McMahon and the WWE had a meeting this week, and they told all the stars, I shouldn't say told, they reminded all the stars of their contracts. And basically, as long as they're working for WWE, yes, they're an independent contractor, but they're also a character for an entertainment company. And basically, they're not supposed to use their likeness outside of WWE. It's a talent contract. And, some people put up, it's a 23-page contract, pretty much. And some people focused on 2 particular areas. I'm actually going to read you 3 particular areas. Now, I know some people out there are going batshit about 2 words, legal name. I want to read you very quickly what is in this contract, what's been in this contract for decades, and where the uproar is right now. Let's pull this up. I edited this down just to basically focus on the point that I wanted to make. So here you go. All service marks Remember intellectual property? Didn't we just talk about that with Chris Jericho and WWE? Remember they just recently made a deal? They didn't just do that with Jericho. They're doing it with their whole roster. All service marks, trademarks, and other distinctive and identifying indicia used by wrestlers prior to the effective date in connection with the business of professional wrestling, including but not limited to wrestlers' legal name, nickname, ring name, likeness, personality, character, caricature, signature, costumes, props, gimmicks, gestures, routines, and themes, which are owned by wrestler or in which wrestler has any rights anywhere in the world. That's before, okay? Before. Are described and identifying Exhibit A attached here to wrestler hereby assigns to promoted a right during the term and thereafter as provided for in this agreement, but not limited to the rights to license, reproduce, manipulate, promote, expose, exploit, and otherwise use the wrestler's intellectual property. All right, and it goes on and on and on. This is the one where people really got upset. Except for the wrestler, intellectual property specifically set forth any intellectual property rights, including but not limited to trademarks, service marks, copyrighted works, and or distinctive and identifying indicia. I hope I'm saying that word right. I don't usually use that word in my, my vocabulary, including legal name, ring name, nickname, likeness, personality, character, caricature, signature, props, gestures, routines, themes, incidents, dialogue, actions, gags, costumes, parts of costumes, blah, 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 blah. So people are like, whoa, Vince McMahon, he thinks he owns people's legal names. Okay. Yeah, MJF's lawyer wrote this. All right, let me explain a couple of things here. All right. Some wrestlers use their legal names in wrestling. I mean, I'm not going to name any specifics, but you could think of a whole bunch right away. So some people actually use their legal name in pro wrestling. And you're under contract with WWE. Any likeness during that tenure, all right, WWE basically has rights to it. They're not trying to take control. In fact, that would, let me say it like this. This is $1 billion company. This isn't a crackerjack contract. These are contracts that are reviewed, examined, written by lawyers, read by lawyers, interpreted, understood. This happens in movies. This happens in TV shows. This happens in all forms of entertainment. This is not a Vince McMahon idea. Although a lot of wrestling websites, podcasters, and lonely people on Twitter will try to make you think otherwise. Again, I am not defending this. I am just using common sense and trying to explain to people why certain things are in the contracts. All right. The problem is you have talents that are on TV under WWE contract and they're going on social media and they come off as a WWE contracted wrestler on Cameo. Remember about a month and a half ago I said some wrestlers on Cameo, they do a horrible job promoting themselves because they don't mention WWE anywhere. Remember I said, I was doing searches and I couldn't find this person or find this person? They got the legal message. They're doing everything they can to portray themselves as themselves and not the WWE character. That's why there's no reference whatsoever. Some people got the memo. Now, another thing is, and I'm not trying to pin this on any one person, but a lot of people out there immediately started thinking about AJ Styles on Twitch, AJ Styles talking about Gallows and Anderson's releases, talking about Paul Heyman stuff, talking about getting hit with COVID-19 and this and that. And look, I will tell you firsthand, I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that AJ Styles did nothing wrong. But basically what's happening is you have a lot of wrestlers that are going on Twitch that are under WWE contract and they're basically, revealing things that might be considered detrimental to the company. again, I have no problem with AJ Styles saying what he says on social media. He has every right. It's his freedom of speech. But here is the problem. Here's the problem that everybody does not realize, intentionally ignores it, or forgets about it, okay? And I'm not trying to be a hard ass over here, but everything that I say in tonight, I could sum it up with just this statement right here. We're in the middle of COVID-19. And yes, it's messed up to let anybody go during COVID, but business is business. Sometimes business is not fair. Sometimes it's harsh, but business is business. I understand people trying to find alternate ways of revenue working for WWE. Merchandise revenue is down. Obviously, Ticketgate is down, pay-per-view revenue. There's so many things that are down in the company. Yes, WWE's profit margin is going up, but the royalties and the money that the wrestlers are making is lower. Now, you could also say this. A lot of the wrestlers have to pay for a lot of their transportation and some of their expenses on the road. There's a lot of expenses that are prevented right now because they're not touring. So yes, some wrestlers are making less coin with WWE right now, but at the same time, though, they're also not spending as much. Yes, transportation, some of those things are tax deductible, like I said before. But here's the biggest point that, again, I'm not sticking up for Vince, but you have to use common sense. You know, you'll have podcasters out there that are going to, excuse me for a second. It's getting hot in here. There's going to be a lot of podcasters out there that are going to just basically shit on Vince McMahon, and everybody's going to love it. You're going to have people out there that are going to just be passionate, PC. Oh, how can you do that to people right now? They're having fun. They're playing video games. You want to shut them down. And that's popular too. But see, me, I have to think with this also. If Vince McMahon makes an exception for AJ Styles, for Paige, for this person, this person, this person, and this person, and let's say he makes the exception because we're in COVID, know what happens? Let me answer it like this, because a lot of you out there have heard me do this analogy before. I work in the insurance business since 1998. Once in a while, I get a customer that cancels for non-payment of premium. They didn't pay their bill. And in New York State, it's pretty messed up with car insurance. You could get hit with lapses. If you have 2 lapses in 3 years, they suspend your plates no matter what. You have to turn them in. Doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes I'll call an insurance company and they'll say, look, it's canceled. There's nothing we could do about it. And I'll say to them, it's only been canceled for 5 days. Can the customer pay it, bring it up to date? What if I get them to sign a no-loss letter that says they didn't have any claims or accidents during those 5 days, so you don't have to worry about getting... And 9 times out of 10, I get hit with this phrase. If I make an exception for your customer, then I got to make an exception for everybody. And I know that sounds generic, but in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment, the real world, the business world, the billion-dollar company, where there's contracts, lawyers, and everything else, you make exceptions for a lot of these stars, COVID or not. Down the line, you have other people who find some really creative ways to make money through third parties. And now WWE says to them, no, no, no. And what happens? They go get a lawyer, and the lawyer says, but wait a minute, you allowed this person, you allowed this person, you allowed this person. And that opens the floodgates. So if you ask me, anybody out there that works out a deal with WWE, and I'm not trying to be a jerk over here, but they sign these things. It's 23 pages long. How come for decades, them or their lawyers don't stop and say, look, man, you know, I'm fine with all of this, but if I want to do something under my regular name for a commercial or something else, I want to be able to do it. They sign the contract. They get paid. You know, it's funny. You know, everybody goes through problems. Everybody at some point, every single person that's, and thank you very much for the kind words. You know me, I'm not trying to be an asshole, and I'm not trying to take the sides of anybody. I'm just telling you straight up what the deal is. All right, some things are not popular, but facts are facts. All right, you know, you have every single person watching this right now at some point has gone through ups and downs with finances. A lot of you through COVID. You battle. You go through your ups and your downs. What a lot of people will do is they'll generate a little nest egg. This way, if something happens, they have a little bit that they could, you know, basically live on for a little while. Look, the COVID scare. Ronda Rousey goes on social media and she shows videos of her, you know, plants and her freezer with like 60 days worth of meat and this and that. And you got people ripping her. Like, oh, she's rubbing in people's faces. Look, she's just one of the smartest people out there. That's called covering your ass in case of an emergency, a devastating emergency. You live in areas where there's hurricanes and lots of earthquakes, and you have people in their basements, not just, you know, writing on social media, but they use their basements to store dehydrated foods, bottled water, batteries, other emergency items, first aid kits. Back in the 50s, what was it, bunkers? Everybody had bunkers in their basements that they thought there was going to be like a nuclear war or something like that. And they'd have areas where they could just basically go for shelter. All right. Same thing in the finance world. You got your ups and you got your downs. Unfortunately, we're in COVID right now. And a lot of those very well-paid wrestlers are in a period of time where things are on the decline. All right, you know, when everything is good, everybody's happy and nobody says a word. When things are bad, it's woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. That's why every time I see someone whining after all of these months on social media about not working and this and that, you know, people don't, after 6, 7, 8 months, don't bother getting the message. You know, I got to find a different type of work to do because I may never, you know, be able to do this or this or that. So my fiance is doing right now. She's setting up her house to work from home from now on, data entry and stuff like that. She worked in administration, but she realizes with everything that's going on, the best chance of her getting employment again is to work from home because then she could work remotely for another company. She's got a webcam. She's got everything ready to go. The setup is awesome. She's taking measures to work around it. But up until this point, she's got no unemployment or anything else. So we've tried to make ends meet. You know, it is what it is. So these wrestlers, I understand they're doing YouTube channels. You've heard me commented about a few in the past. You got Twitch, you got Cameo. Problem is that some people, and I'm sorry for saying it like this, some people don't know how to play the game. Not singling anybody out, but let me say it like this. These wrestlers know exactly what's in their contracts. Every time they get a royalty check, they know exactly what they signed. This revelation, that legal name is in the contract, that's been in their face for decades. Nobody bitched about it before. And let me also say this, to my fellow podcasters out there and wrestling news sites that are trying so hard to get tweet banged right now over this, we've had copies of people's talent contracts float around the net since the 90s. We have seen contracts before, many times. We've seen so many, and legal name has always been on it. Why all of a sudden people are shocked and beyond disbelief? It's the same thing as the Ashley Mazzaro situation. God rest her soul. You remember? She accused someone in the military of rape, pretty much, sexual assault. And I remember when that floated around the net, at that time she wasn't doing anything in wrestling for the most part. She was fighting, I think, with Matt Hardy and I think Rebby Sky. And yours truly also, you know, pretty much just wrote her off like, you know, making all these claims and this and that. And so many people just turned a blind eye to it. She passes away, unfortunately commits suicide, and you have this sudden, revelation online. Oh my God, we gotta do, why did this get, you didn't give a fuck a couple of years earlier when she was the one screaming it out. So these people online that are suddenly outraged with this has been staring at them like the Excalibur stuff. That video with Excalibur saying some of the words that he said, it was disgusting. I covered it on my history show 2 or 3 years ago. There were loads of people out there that knew what he said, but boom, the minute he works for AEW, somebody brings it back to the surface. Disgusting. We must do something about it. These people, they don't care until they can get attention around it. So the bottom line is in the middle of COVID, you want to show a little bit of leniency. You look the other way. You see something, I can't tell you how many times back in the day when I worked for my father's grocery store, this is 30 years ago, and we would get like a couple of elderly people from the neighborhood that, just were all disheveled. They smelled like armpits, on top of armpits. You look at their face and you could see that, not only do they have facial hair, but it's like curled up because they don't groom and they have no money. And, they'll pick up an apple or they'll pick up something and, they just look the other way. You look the other way. I'm not comparing them to, that's a big example, but point is you try to look away as long as you can. But when you got wrestlers going on the social medias and just, do you remember what I said? And I know a lot of you out there will remember this more than anything else. You remember what I said a couple of years ago, that it blew me away, the balls that a lot of WWE stars have online now, where they'll just legit post cheap shots towards their fellow workers and just post, certain things. And yes, freedom of speech, of course. But it just felt like WWE did not have control. I'm sure a lot of you always remembered me saying that. It felt like they lost control because 20 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, we would always hear that, everybody's got to show up at the building by a certain time and everybody's got to wear a suit and, you have to have a certain etiquette about yourself and you're representing the company even though you're an independent contractor, blah, 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 blah. And you never saw anybody. Seriously, everybody. We had AOL Prodigy chats in the 90s. You had forums and message boards in the late 90s. In the early 2000s, I think we had MySpace. You look up until around maybe 10 years ago. Do you remember wrestlers in TNA or WWE at that time all going on forums and other places and just going balls out and venting on their own employers? Nobody did that. Nobody did that. But now people just feel like they could just say whatever they want to say, and it can be detrimental for the employer that they're working for. So now you have Cameo, you have Twitch. Where does it end? YouTube, Cameo, Twitch. So now basically Vince McMahon turned around and say, hey, everybody, remember this contract you signed? This 23-page contract that we've been paying you for years and years and years and years and years? Some of you, I think, forgot about that contract. Sometimes you look the other way. WWE has looked the other way for quite a while now. You have wrestlers with their own T-shirts being sold. How many wrestlers under WWE contract still had pro wrestling T-shirts? Maybe under a former gimmick or something else. In some cases, you'd have the former gimmick versus the current gimmick. Nobody said anything. But after a while, where does it end? So again, I am not defending WWE or Vince McMahon in any way, shape, or form, because a lot of these wrestlers are interacting with their fans. And although some of those wrestlers, it might be a big money grab in some people's eyes, there's a lot of fans out there that are very, very down and, just really depressed because of what's going on in the world right now. It's not just COVID. You see all the streets and all the disarray going on. So having, someone larger than life hanging out with you on Twitch for a little while, there's nothing wrong with that. Drake Maverick playing video games from 30 years ago and just hanging out and talking to fans on Twitch, that guy's got no controversy. He don't start nothing. He don't throw anybody under the bus. He's just having some fun. He makes a little money on the side. What's wrong with that? But the problem is some people, you ever hear the saying, you give an inch, they take a foot? That's what happens. You give an inch, and they don't just take the inch, they take the foot. And it gets to a point where now WWE says, all right, enough's enough. We're giving you 30 days to shut your stuff down. Now, do I think everybody out there is going to shut their cameos down? And so, no. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't shut it down either. But for people out there to act shocked, especially wrestlers, about that, when they sign the 6, 7, 8, 8 digits is rare, but 6 or 7 digit contract, and that's in the contract, and their lawyer and their agent says, yeah, it's all good. It's all good until it's not. So everyone out there, you're going to get a lot of people out there that they're going to write tweets that sound beautiful. They're going to write stuff that just like, it just strikes your inner heart. It just gets that real deep sympathy. But at the end of the day, use common sense. Nothing wrong with having empathy. And there's nothing wrong with, feeling bad for some people out there because they are getting a nice payday right now. Absolutely. But also, you got to think with this. And, the people, it's funny, the people that are going to be the most emotional out there that are not the wrestlers themselves are people out there that don't even work themselves. That their whole life is their social media. They're going to be the most outspoken, passionate about this, and they're the ones that are the most irresponsible of them all. So, that's what I wanted to just share with everybody out there. It is what it is. Nothing you could do about that. So anyway, I don't know how we got off subject before, but I said I got a little bad news tonight. And this was why I think if you want to subscribe to the channel, you might want to. I know there's a lot of people out there that loved that month that we did the history segment on Friday nights. I have to put it on the back burner for a little while. It's not necessarily because I played content. I got everything cleared. It was fine. Fact of the matter is, and I'm not trying to, be a party pooper here, but I do shows Monday, I do shows Tuesday, I do shows Wednesday, I do shows Friday. And then if there's a pay-per-view on the weekend, I do shows on the weekend too. And then I also have Patreon. So it's 5 to 6 shows a week. The history show was crazy amounts of work putting it together. It's not as much work, but it's also kind of difficult to find clips that you can share that you get, buy with no problems. So what I decided to do, in the next week or two, I'm going to continue the history stuff again, but I'm going to pre-record it at a time and a day that is easier for yours truly, and I will put it on the channel. So I'm not trying to take it away. I know there's some of you out there absolutely loved it, and I know a lot of you out there loved last Friday with the XPW stuff. I had fun, man. I'm not going to lie to you. That night, I got a little teary-eyed because I basically, I was thinking about it after, and I'm like, 18 years already. I just got that feeling of climbing the guardrail that time, and Mad Zombie and Brian Damage like, where you going? Where you going? I'm like, they want me to work at the table. 18 years later, it just blows you away that many years have gone by and years just fly by like this. So, and another thing I need to do too. I was going to bring it up on Monday, but not everybody on Friday tunes into Mondays. Not everybody on Friday tunes into Wednesdays. I can't just assume that everybody who is enjoying the show with me right now tunes into the other show. So I try to keep them separate. But last week, something happened, and I really needed to just express my sincere apologies to everybody out there. Last week when we were doing the show, somebody started flooding the chat room with rest in peace Chadwick Boseman, 43 years old. And, you know, I'm in the wrestling frame of mind as I'm doing the show, and I just see it written over and over and over and over again. And, you know, I don't care. You could talk about whatever you want in the chat. All I ask is that you don't troll, and you don't have to say the same thing 100 times. I get it. And it just felt like this person was not going to stop until I mentioned it. So I mentioned it in passing. After the show was over, and I remembered, because I always said I'm not into Marvel. I never really followed the Black Panther. But it hit me after the show was over. A lot of you may remember how much I put over 42, Jackie Robinson's story. I have said this for years and years and years, going back to my hotline days. Every so often, someone will say, you know, who, somebody in baseball that's passed away that you wish you could meet, you know, if you had the chance. And I always say Jackie Robinson at the top of my list. Muhammad Ali would probably be number 2. But completely forgetting that he was the lead actor in Jackie in 42. And, man, you know... I said it Friday night, 43 years old is way too young to go. Plus, when you realize, and I was watching again, you know, even though my views on Spike Lee has changed over the years, but I saw Spike Lee talking about when he brought him overseas to film a movie, and nobody knew that he was going through chemo and suffering cancer. And I felt, I'm not going to lie, after the show was over, I felt like a jackass. Because I'm like, man, I completely forgot all the other work that he had done. So you know, look, some of you out there, you know, his role as Black Panther, that's it. For me, his role as Jackie was just phenomenal. I always loved the original Jackie Robinson story because Jackie Robinson was the star. He starred as himself. But yeah, so I wanted to mention that. You know, I didn't need to, obviously, but I needed to. So I just wanted to just mention that to everybody out there. Now, so getting back to wrestling, the history shows will still be around, but I'm going to do them as uploads. I want to start recording some stuff, putting it online. Sometimes surprise you with some stuff here and there. I think not next week, but the week after, we're going to do a Q&A. So we'll work that out. I'll put up a thread where you can post all your questions, and I'll do a Q&A. Whatever you want me to talk about, I don't care what it is. I'll talk about it. And then the following week, we're going to start taking calls. I have everything configured. I got cable wires everywhere. I got wires here. I got, oh my God, you have no idea. I have all the cables. Now all I got to do is just put it all together. So, you know, so we'll be taking calls also. And much love, everybody, once again, especially, I don't want to say it like that because, you know, some people just can't tune in live. But everybody tuning in live right now, thank you. Thank you for spending your Friday night or Saturday morning with yours truly. Now, before we talk about SmackDown, and remember, SmackDown was just 3 matches tonight. But every one of them, you know, kind of had some importance to it. Even though I didn't like, you know, Morrison taking the briefcase, because didn't I just say on one of the episodes, like, stop with people taking other people's titles? You know, MVP takes the U.S. title. Sami Zayn claims that he's the champion. Now this guy claims he's the brief. It's getting too much. They did that, I even think, in NXT one time recently as well. Too many of this, oh, I claim this. I take it, therefore I have. You know, it's mine. Too much. Too much. But before we do that, I don't know if you all are aware of this, but something broke on the newswire a couple of hours ago. And I feel bad for Mish because it was last week. Mish and I were talking about, wow, you know, this team, be cool if they come back, especially with the manager they had. And then we got the announcement today. WWE has released Akam and Razor, AOP, the Authors of Pain. They are done with WWE. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm confused at this one. Yes, you know, they're sitting in suits and talking a different language, but it worked. These two guys are two intimidating badasses that actually can do it in the ring. I'm not going to lie. I'd rather have them than the Viking Raiders. Nothing against the Viking Raiders, but this was an awesome tag team. There was a video of one of these two guys in January or February working out like a maniac, and he looked scary what this guy was doing training-wise. I don't understand. Even if you want to go to NXT standards, get rid of Indira Shear. You saw what happened, one of them leaking out, Keith Lee winning the heavyweight title, being a double champion. You see where their career has gone since then. Get rid of them. Put AOP in NXT. AOP, it's a perfect example of what I say. People out there that claim they watch NXT on a religious basis, and then somebody goes up to the main roster and they see them and they comment on social media and they know nothing about the person. It happened with Lars. It happened with a bunch of people. Oh my God, that's an unbelievable move. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. That person's done that move about 60 times in NXT. You say you watch NXT every week. You know, busted. And it happens a lot. AOP in NXT was phenomenal. They were awesome. Awesome. You look at the tag team division in NXT right now, and yes, you know, El Legado del Fantasma is awesome. Breezango, I'm happy they finally got the tag belts. You have the Undisputed Era. All right, you have Fabian Aichner, Oni Lorcan, and some others. You tell me that these two guys wouldn't be a perfect fit? I'm totally confused. Totally confused. Now, the funny thing is, Alberts and some others are saying that they would be a great fit in AEW. I'm not sure about that. I'm a huge AEW fan. You all know that. And I'm even saying that. To me, it's the same thing as Brock Lesnar. AOP, you put him in AEW. Give me 5 tag teams that they could go after. I could come up with 2, you know, but I think they're too big for AEW standards, if you ask my honest opinion. It would be pretty cool to see Precious Paul Ellering in AEW as their manager. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. You know what, Psycho? Yes. I could see them in Impact Wrestling and see them feud with Gallows and Anderson. And I know what you all are going to say. Wait a minute. AEW's tag team division is much better than Impact Wrestling. Exactly. Impact Wrestling needs to really still revamp their roster. When you saw Gallows and Anderson show up at Impact Wrestling not too long ago, and the best, and this is no disrespect to the people that they feuded with, but the best you could come up with was like Crazy Steve, or that told you right there, there is no blockbuster match that you could showcase to get even casual fans to tune into the product. So obviously AOP could not be called AOP. You know, I mean, I don't think you should even do 3 different letters. Instead of AOP, what do you call them? OPP? Yeah, you know me. I mean, what do you call them? I don't know. But I think they would be a better fit in Impact Wrestling, because in Impact Wrestling, they could go right to the top. In AEW, there's too many teams that they would have to jump over. And there's a lot of teams that are very small in size. You know, I have nothing against size in wrestling, but these guys are so dominant and so big and so agile. It's going to be a hard sell for me to believe that Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt has a shot against them. You know, and I'm just singling out one tag team. You think I give a crap about the Natural Nightmares? Dustin, yes. QT, who dat? So, before we go any further, want to just give a couple of quick shout-outs, super chats, starting to revamp the fonts a little bit. I like how that looks. Arian Parastagar. Arian Parastagar. I got it. Much love once again from Toronto, man. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Shout out to everybody in Canada. I'm very curious. I don't get too many people from Canada that talk to me as far as how they view the United States right now, especially with our president. If you notice, I keep politics off the shows as much as possible. It's very different from a year or two ago. But Trudeau, I actually, I don't want to get into politics now, but my quick reaction to Trudeau from the outside looking in comes off as good-hearted, but maybe a little bit of a snowflake and maybe a little bit Nancy Pelosi-ish, where, do as I say, not as I do. That's what he comes off as towards me. So Joe Punches says, can we foresee WWE starting their own Cameo and or Twitch? That's interesting. That is very interesting. Didn't they have Tout? Remember Tout? I mean, if anything, it's WWE's fault. The wrestlers were touting. Tout. Now, WWE, I'm just touting. It's just a different name. Touting. I'm touting. No, but seriously, that's not a bad idea. But they tried doing a tout, and it failed miserably. Honestly, man, again, I understand, and the contracts say what they say. You signed it, man. Nobody forced you to sign it. Vince is not going to go out in the media world and cut interviews and talking about this. But you know the deal. I didn't hold your hand. I didn't sign it for you. You signed it. Your fault. You signed it. You're making crazy money. You're a household name. Damn well believe you're going to kind of sign a little bit of your rights away while you're on the WWE deal. So anyway, that's not a bad idea. Hopefully they don't do the route like Tout, because that was, I don't know why it never clicked. I don't know why, but just one more. Ken, terminated by DQ, and as I see Ken's font over here, see, this is where I can on the fly. Maybe we have to reduce this a little bit. Maybe we got to reduce the names. There we go. I think we'll leave it like that. That's a little bit better. Not too many people with longer names than that. Ken disagrees. He would love to see AOP against Santana and Ortiz. Yeah. Do it on an indie show. The problem is, you see how AEW goes. You had Santana Ortiz feuding with Best Friends. It's like every other week. It didn't even go to pay-per-view. And then what do? We don't even know the future with Paige and Omega. There's not a plethora of tag teams. You go through 2 tag teams and then what? FTR, it's different because they're more the size of all the stars there. So when you see FTR against a smaller tag team, it doesn't look out of place. These guys are monsters. They're monsters. So put them in Impact and build around them. You put AOP in AEW, you're putting AOP in an environment where they're going to have to adapt and work around what's already there in AEW. In Impact Wrestling, you could put these guys at the top and have their tag team division around those guys. So, James Smith, shout out to you, my brother. Enjoying the shows for 12 years. For the haters out there. Tonight, it was like Christmas for yours truly. Seriously, it was almost like a mental orgasm, something that went down a little bit earlier. We'll talk about it in a moment. Definitely talk about it in a moment. But look, I wish the AOP nothing but the best. Again, I am baffled by this decision. Who knows? Maybe they didn't want to return right now because of COVID. There was early discussions. A lot of people were wondering, maybe those guys are 2 guys that decided, look, I'm concerned about COVID. I don't feel comfortable. And, I totally respect that. But you see Roman Reigns back, and by the way, tonight, told you, Roman Reigns is only going to be around 1 or 2 people, and mostly Paul Heyman and family, and maybe 1 or 2 people in the WWE. Who was he around tonight, body-wise? Paul Heyman, Jey Uso. That's it. Retribution. Oh, this is awesome, man. You see my synopsis, the overall synopsis for tonight's show? See on the left? Censored. Again, I know a lot of you out there don't check out every show that I do. And I'm sorry if I'm repeating something right now. But I have to tonight, because I'm the only person on the net that has picked up on this for 3 straight weeks. And for 3 straight weeks, it's been proving me right. So I have to share this. I am now 100% convinced that the reason you saw that stupid reports last week. Retribution is being pulled from SmackDown because they want to focus on Roman Reigns. And what was my answer to that last week? Roman Reigns is going to be featured on TV 5 minutes of a 2-hour show. How does Retribution overshadow Roman Reigns? Makes no sense. Retribution could show up when Roman Reigns is already gone. Roman Reigns is back part-time. He is very selective who he's around during COVID. Paul Heyman, Jey Uso's family. Paul Heyman sequestered, not around anyone else. You get 1 or 2 WWE officials. Again, you go back, you look at him interacting with Adam Pearce, 6 feet away. Adam Pearce looking down. Roman Reigns looking at the contract, very soft-spoken. Nobody's going to be yelling and spit flying out. Told all of you, Roman Reigns, he's going to be there part-time, very selective, and you saw it again tonight. But Retribution, 2 weeks in a row, is not on SmackDown. And I figured it out. And very rarely do I tell you, like, I come up with ideas. I came up with one earlier today that some people aren't going to like. But I come up with ideas. I try to think outside the box. Very rarely do I think of something that I'm like, yeah, no, this has got to be it. What happened 3 weeks ago? Fox gave SmackDown a TV 14 rating. You had 2 things that was floating around the net, and if you think I'm making it up, go back and look at news sites 3 weeks ago. Number 1 thing that you saw was, oh my God, Fox wants TV 14 programming. You see, they're bringing back Attitude. TV 14, Fox wanted it. They negotiated, they wanted it, and WWE's finally going to do it. Because AEW did it. Then the second part. Oh, no. Braun Strowman, he picked up Alexa Bliss. They don't want men beating up women, and he was going to choke slam her. It's too much for TV. 3 weeks ago, I said that on prime time, Friday night, with a lot of kids tuning in, they don't want a group that looks like Antifa, who is currently rioting in the streets for real. Burning things, blowing things up, chainsaws and this and that. And when SmackDown, which was taped, was presented to Fox, and Fox saw the tape, Fox said, no problem, TV 14 rating. WWE has advertisers that are based on PG programming. WWE has family entertainment, everything that they sell their product about. The promotional videos that they send to the advertisers. I got one about 10 years ago. Somebody sent me from WWE one of their videos that they sent to their advertisers to convince them to buy advertising in their product. And 10 years ago, everything was about PG, family entertainment. So when Fox hit WWE with this curveball for TV 14, Fox told WWE, you put Retribution on Friday again, we're going to give you a TV 14 again. We don't want Retribution on that. And remember what I said 3 weeks ago. It flashed me back to, I think it was UPN and Muhammad Hassan. Remember Muhammad Hassan? Or was it WWB Network? I don't remember which one it was. It might have been UPN. Muhammad Hassan. They did that beheading segment on TV with The Undertaker, and it was all over the papers. It was UPN. And they turned around and said, we do not want Muhammad Hassan on our TV channel again. So the following week, they did a segment in the ring. It's online. I played it on one of my history shows. Ciampa was the lawyer. And Muhammad Hassan was reading news articles from New York papers talking about him. And he was talking about, that it's just entertainment. And because of that that led to pretty much the demise of his character. That's exactly what I thought about 3 weeks ago. Fox told WWE, we don't want Retribution on our channel. Do it on Mondays. Do whatever you want. We don't want it on Friday. So when I put that up there 2 weeks ago, no, they'll be back. Where were they last week? Remember the milk carton Photoshop that I put together on Monday? They weren't there last Friday. They weren't there at the pay-per-view. And I said, Fox does not want them back. And because people don't want, we don't want to show Don Tony, right? No, Roman Reigns. It's all about Roman Reigns. Yeah, for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes. No, we'll just have Sasha Banks get the crap beat out of her for 20 minutes. Well, by the way, after Bayley hit that move with the chair on Sasha Banks, go back and watch it. Look at Michael Cole in the background. I swear to God, Michael Cole looked like me when I was 6 years old, right before I'm going to get hit with a strap from my father. He's like this. I kid you not. Go watch it. You got to see it. Does it feel like SmackDown is all about Roman Reigns, opening up with Roman Reigns again in the middle, Roman Reigns in the end, main event, this and that? No. So now you have 2 straight weeks of no Retribution. You know what's going to happen now? You're going to get those crappy news websites out there. Breaking news exclusive. You heard it here first. We found out that the reason why Retribution is not on SmackDown has nothing to do with Roman Reigns, but Fox does not want an Antifa-like group on Friday night's primetime TV. And that's why it will be exclusive to Raw. That's what you will read. And that's assumption. But I'm telling you, that is the reason why Retribution is not on Fridays anymore. So I picked up on that 3 weeks ago. And I wanted to see tonight if there's anything. Not even, like I said, even on the pay-per-view, they should have just showed a security camera. There's no reason why they weren't at the pay-per-view for Payback. They should have just showed them on a security camera, and half the WWE roster chases them down the street. And that's why they didn't get in the building, didn't do nothing in Payback. Didn't even do that. 5-minute segment. Could have just simply explained why they weren't there. Nope. So that's the deal with Retribution. Now, earlier today, I pissed off a few people. Oh, and by the way, we have the quarter-hour ratings for NXT and AEW this week. I will share it with all of you a little bit later. Now, yesterday, was it yesterday? No, Wednesday. I did your AEW All Out pay-per-view predictions. So if you want to go check it out, it is halfway through Wednesday's episode of Wednesday Night Dynamite, so we don't have to get into it here today. I will let everybody know for the AEW pay-per-view, they have decided to take Big Swole versus Britt Baker and put it on the card. So now the pre-show match is going to be Private Party versus Alex Reynolds and John Silver. So I just figured I'd share that with everybody out there. I think AEW's pay-per-view tomorrow night is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be really, really good. I'm not just saying that. Oh no, Metallica. We'll talk about that. Did you notice? Nikki Cross looking at Bray Wyatt? Lexi. I'm telling you. Remember my idea that maybe Nikki Cross aligns herself with Braun Strowman? Maybe we get a little Braun Strowman, Nikki Cross versus The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. I love thinking outside the box. And he had to spoil my momentum because I was just about to show something that I wrote a little bit earlier. Damn you. Before that, Joe punches. Why was Paul Heyman semi-emotional tonight on his promo? Because that is Paul Heyman being a little bit creatively different than what he was with Brock Lesnar. You know, Paul Heyman, let's be honest, man. Paul Heyman is one of my favorites of all time. But I criticize Paul Heyman quite a bit for some of the content on Raw. And he was pretty much, you know, sayonara, no longer creative. And, you know, so they're using that as part of the storyline that, you know, look, the idea that Roman Reigns, nobody, you know, paid attention and nobody cared. You know, what's stupid about that is, wasn't the moment of Roman Reigns announcing that his leukemia is in remission and he could come back, wasn't that like the moment of the year? Wasn't there an award just like presented for that? Like, it was a big deal. Everybody, all wrestling fans, hell, we even said, you know, leukemia turned him babyface. So that aspect of it is kind of, you know, thin. But Paul Heyman with a little chip on his shoulder also, as far as everything that went down with him, yeah, no, it makes total sense. You know, very methodical of what he said earlier. And, you know, Carmella ended up trending on social media because of what he said to Corey Graves, which we'll get into in a few moments. But I like Paul Heyman being a little bit methodical, not your typical, you know, Brock Lesnar promo, because anybody remember my history show? This might surprise a lot of people out there. You may not even realize this. But you go back to the Authority with Seth Rollins, and even before that, you go and you listen to Paul Heyman promo with Brock Lesnar talking about Seth Rollins and others, you realize that, holy shit, Paul Heyman's cut the same promo with Brock Lesnar for 7 years, maybe a little more than that. You had the same thing cut year after year. Now, if it's not broke, you don't fix it, obviously, but it obviously needed to be changed. And this is coming off more as a business relationship than anything else. That's why Roman Reigns, when he saw Jey Uso, he's like, yeah, don't worry about him. You know, but you could tell WWE wants Roman Reigns to be a heel in the end because of the fact that they piped in those boos when the music hit earlier. Now they're coming out with a new clothing line. You know, Roman Reigns, when he cut his promo earlier today, he threw in a little catchphrase in there that is now going to be on the clothing line. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Was there any animal that I ever was terrified of as a kid? Favorite meal growing up as a kid? Growing up as a kid, when my mom loved pizza, hot dogs, veal cutlets, hamburgers. Those were probably the go-tos. On Sundays, when my mom would make lasagna, stuffed shells, manigots, as we say it. You know, and once in a while, my mom will still cook that, but, you know, she's not in great health at all, so we try not to make her do things like that. In fact, tonight, I made my keto version of her eggplant parmesan. I devoured it, man. I ate so much tonight. Seriously. I saw Kurt Angle today on social media. It was his cheat meal. I don't have cheat meals, but he had a cheat meal, and it was a gigantic thing of it was, I think, Fruit Loops. And there's a keto version of that, and I actually was going to show it to him. But as far as animals growing up, snakes, bugs, dragonflies, wasps. One of my friends, when I was a little kid, we were in my pool, and I remember it looked like a bad cartoon, a wasp just like went. You ever see, like, I forget what movie it was, we were like kids, and it was a movie where a big bug landed on somebody's nose and they went like this. Like, they just, like, their eyes went and just freaked out. I remember my friend, a wasp, like, flew right on his nose. He went like this. Ah! And it stung him. So I always would freak out after that. So, yeah, I can actually cross my eye. I can actually do this. I used to be able to do it better, but I could look one eye going this way. Hey, Robert Gibson. Shawn Michaels has me blocked. Shawn Michaels. Can't do it like I used to. I remember when I used to do that when I was young. I'd be like, Ma, look at this. She's like, your eyes are going to stay like that if you keep doing it. I realize now she was full of it. So, but, with my theory on Roman Reigns, how often will he wrestle? Will he only wrestle at pay-per-views? Oh, I think he actually could wrestle on a SmackDown here and there. Things change 12. I don't know. I saw it a mile away. My hunch, my feeling was right. I don't want to brag about it. It wasn't, it's just a hunch. I know a lot of you out there thought that as well, that it was going to be very, very limited. Saw that. He's only going to be around people he feels comfortable with. That's it. He's only going to be around people he feels comfortable with. And so far, like I said, you see who he's interacted with. I said it early this week. Watch Friday. He'll be around one or two people. And that's exactly what happened. If you don't count the cameraman. Just really two people. So, and LED screens. Lots of LED screens. So, but, I know I always go a little out of place with recaps, but, early tonight, the main event was supposed to be a four-way. Big E versus Sheamus versus King Corbin versus Matt Riddle. And by the way, the Corbin count is at 84. We have 84 Corbin cards. If anybody wants to send in cards, I didn't put the P.O. box address on the screen yet, so I apologize, but I'll say it here now. You could just rewind it if you want. I'll give the P.O. box and I'll remind everybody what we're going to do. It's P.O. Box 140128, Howard Beach, New York. Zip code is 11414-0128. You just put on the envelope Don Tony or Baron Corbin, Corbin Demolition Night. Like I said, what we're going to do for fun is we're going to take, these are donated cards from some listeners. It doesn't look like a lot, but there's 84 in here right now. What we're going to do is sometime later this year, maybe early next year, once Corbin wins a belt, back in 1979, there was something called Disco Demolition Night. It was a doubleheader, the White Sox versus the Tigers baseball. And during the doubleheader, after the first game, they had this DJ come out by name of Steve Dahl, who hated disco. And basically what they did was they did a promotional thing where if you showed up at the stadium with, I think, 99 cents and a disco record, they'll put it in a bin. And then after the first game, they were going to blow up all the records. They put like dynamite and stuff in there, and they blew it up in center field. I'm giving a very short version of it. And a lot of people think that moment was the beginning and the end of disco. So what we're going to do, just to be fun, is we're going to do Corbin Demolition Night. We're going to take all the cards that we build up, and if we only end up with a couple of hundred and it looks pretty cheesy, then I might have to start looking, at some like retail outlets to get like a lot of 500 Corbin cards. And all we're going to do is we're going to take them and put them in a big bucket. And, my parents have a house on the beach, so there's nobody. They're always lighting fireworks on the beach. Cops never come. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a whole bunch of M80s and stuff like that, and I'm going to just throw the cards in there. We're going to put some gasoline, light it on fire, and blow those son of a bitches up. Just in good fun. I have nothing personally. I don't have no personal hatred with Corbin. But I said, let's do Corbin Demolition Night. Oh, sorry, Harry. Sorry, I have to assume, Harry, that everybody knows what the plan is. So I bring it up once every couple of weeks. Sorry. I gave the very short version of it tonight, though. So anyway, we're supposed to have that main event tonight. Corbin versus Riddle versus Sheamus versus Big E. Gulak, which apparently is a babyface again, he's in the back wearing some birthday cake hat or whatever, birthday hat. Little celebration, and Big E is back there as well, and we see Lucha House Party. That storyline pretty much fizzled. Yes, it's only 1 week, but it seemed to have fizzled a little bit. Somebody tells Big E that Xavier Woods is pulling up. Oh, we're going to see Xavier Woods. Yeah, we see him on the podcast, but hey, we haven't seen him on SmackDown. Big E goes outside thinking that he's going to see Xavier Woods. Instead, he gets attacked by Sheamus. Sheamus beats the crap out of him, picks up Big E like he's a child, and does the white noise on Big E through a windshield. Now, the spot looked awesome. Big E looked unconscious, went right through the windshield. They said he suffered lots of lacerations in his head and his back, and they were going to bring him to the hospital. And I thought that was so stupid. I thought it was so stupid. Again, this is just me nitpicking. I love this segment. But when they had Sheamus cut the promo after the commercial break, I don't know if anybody picked up on this, but as Sheamus is cutting the promo and talking about being in the match, and he's talking a little bit longer than he's supposed to, in the background you see Big E on the stretcher, and they're playing with it, and for some reason it takes 3 minutes to put 2 straps on and this and that. Did you see they're playing with it? And as they're doing all that, I'm saying to myself, okay, in storyline, he's got loads of glass and cuts on the back of his head and his neck and his arms, his shoulders, and his back, and you put him on the gurney on his back. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking too much of this, but if everything on your back, your head, it's like that rap song, my neck, my back, my tits, and my crack. No, but everything on Big E's back is all cut up, glass and everything. So what do? We put him on the gurney sitting over there, so the glass just digs in a little bit further. Nobody picked up on that. I saw that. I'm like, come on, man. I was going to tweet about it, but I don't want to start getting into the habit of just getting tweet fucked, even though I did tweet something today that the haters despised it. You notice when I write something really spot on, you don't see people in droves like, they'll comment about other people's comments about Fruit Loops, but this, oh no, we can't give him satisfaction. A lot of you, I'm sorry I think I get the right to brag for a second. So Big E's out of the match. I'm looking around social media. All I keep seeing is Daniel Bryan, 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 Daniel Bryan. Oh man, Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. Now the roles are reversed. Babyface for Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan. So I moved in there. I came up with this. Everybody is saying Daniel Bryan should be the 4th man in tonight's SmackDown main event. I love thinking outside the box. What if Paul Heyman convinced Adam Pearce to put Jimmy Uso as the replacement for Big E? Interesting if Roman Reigns faced Jimmy Uso, Clash of the Champions. Daniel Bryan, 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 Daniel Bryan. I put that up there. Just thinking outside the box, being a little creative. Oh, DT, are you crazy? You stupid? Yeah, I'm going to put him in the main event. Yeah, you're just... So that's why I put up earlier today. I see my tweet. Oh, by the way, big shout out to everybody who pointed out to me a little glitch. I hope, let me know tonight if you see it. I don't think you do anymore. As a lot of you know, I have a mirrorless camera now, no more webcam. I got a giant monitor so I can have my notes, super chats, the monitor, the video, the levels, the recording stuff, the editing, the video, and your chat over here. So I have everything on the same screen. I don't have to keep flipping around. Few people brought up to me last week that when I was doing the shows and you see me with my hands and moving around, that my camera just kept focusing. And it would keep, you would still see like even the background would be focusing. And for some people, they were like, I'm not trying to nitpick, but it was a little annoying. And I watched it back and I'm like, oh, that sucks. So I spent today about a half an hour trying to learn the camera a little bit more, and I adjusted a couple of settings. And I think I figured it out. I don't think we don't have anything, like moving around. I think it was set on continuous autofocus, so it was constantly autofocusing. But a lot of these settings, if anybody out there that podcasts knows, a lot of people when they podcast, they have their backgrounds blurred. The focus is only on the person talking. I don't want the background blurred. I want, like Jay Carlos' super chat and what school do you go to pop up behind me. I want people to be able to read it. I want people to see some of the photos and this and that. Little by little, everything's getting a little bit clearer, and little by little, the box area, the video is getting bigger and bigger. We're working on new templates. The video size is going to be a lot bigger than this. I don't need that stuff over there. No. Yeah, I don't need that stuff over there. So we're going to get rid of that, make it bigger. And you know what? If I even wanted to, I think I said this once before, I could just do this. And I could just kind of like zoom myself in, and I could, make me like, oh, shit. All right, sorry about that. But, I don't have to keep it with just the template. We're messing around a little bit. But, yeah, so I came up with the idea. Let's think outside the box. Jey Uso, family. You go back and you look at the Click. The Click would fight each other all the time in feuds. You'd see family members feuding with each other all the time. Yeah, it happens. So Roman Reigns feuding, having a match with Jey Uso, Jey Uso's going to think that it's just family. Roman Reigns is going to come off like, like may the best man win and this and that. But Roman Reigns is going to go vicious on Jey Uso. That seems like how they're going to go with this. And it milks 3 weeks. And, look, without live fans there, and yes, you got the LED screens, but you don't have that live sound. When you got Sheamus doing his 10 chop thing and you don't hear the crowd going along with it. You just hear the steady soccer noise. That soccer noise is brutal, man. Power moves. You don't hear any reaction. It's just steady, steady, steady. I don't know. I think Thunderdome is really wearing off for a lot of people. Honestly, I didn't even look at Thunderdome at all tonight. I was just focused on the show itself. I mean, it's a nice little interactive way to go. But at the end of the day, there's only about, 500 LED screens? So what type of demo do you think you get with 500 fans that are extra interactive? So I don't know, man. But I absolutely love the idea that Jimmy Uso is going to face Roman Reigns at Clash of Champions. I was thinking outside the box, and when they first announced that he was going to be in the four-way, they said, I can't write anything on Twitter yet. Because if he loses the four-way, then everybody's going to be like, you thought you were smart. You came this close. And to wait. That would have been premature ejaculation. You can't do that. So, anyway, before we do the full-blown SmackDown recap, and then after that, we'll get into the quarter-hour ratings for NXT and AEW, and then we're going to get out of here. Hour and 28 minutes so far. I'd like to be done by 2 hour mark, which would be about a half hour from now. Maybe we'll go a little over, but I definitely like to end this, because remember, tomorrow night, right after AEW, I'm right back here again. So, and then after that, less than 48 hours later, I'll be here on Monday. Mish might be joining me again on Monday. He has been extremely well received, and again, he's not replacing Kev or anything. It's just he's on video also. So, if Santa Claus wants to come on, as long as he's on video, it's cool, but, and if you all didn't check it out yet, Tuesday, Kevin and I did DTKC show on Patreon. It's not a money grab, like I said. I want to go there again. We had a decent show, and we're going to do it again this Tuesday. So, before I get into the full-blown SmackDown recap, a couple of super chats. Jay Carlos. Oh, my friend, thank you. And I did get your PM earlier. I will take care of the shirt tomorrow. I have a couple of shirts that I got to take care of, so I will definitely send yours out. So I think I got all your information. I don't know if you sent me a shirt size, but double check the PM you sent me earlier. And I'll make sure that goes out tomorrow. So, what school do you go to? Change back for me. Oh no, you could keep that. We had all that foreign stuff before. It's it's when I type it, like I don't know if it's like a hidden code for some like really like horrible stuff. Like I don't want to get flagged from YouTube. Like, do you realize what that stands for? I'm like, I have no idea. AOP should head to the NWA or New Japan. New Japan is a great idea. They don't need to talk. No nonsense. Brawling. I could see that. NWA right now, I don't know what's up on NWA. Seriously. I know they're doing those weekly pay-per-views now, but, I think AEW's got to sign Thunder Rosa. I mean, and let me say this too. I will repeat this again. I'm convinced that Billy Corgan, and this is a good thing towards what he did, I think he told his roster, look, with COVID, nobody's working right now. We're not doing shows, this and that. I know you guys and gals got to eat, and you have families in some cases, and you have a lot of bills, and you have to worry about yourselves and your livelihood. If anybody wants out of their contract, I will allow you out of your contract. And I think some people took him up on that offer. And I think Thunder Rosa is going to be the interesting wild card here, because Thunder Rosa, look, she represents NWA great, represents her proud. And I was thinking about wearing a Thunder Rosa shirt tomorrow for the recap, but it's an NWA shirt, so kind of like might not look all that, great. I have another shirt on the way, so I'll wear that once I get it. But Thunder Rosa represents the NWA excellent, and she's the women's champion. But if she signs with AEW, then you know that NWA not only gave everybody that option, but they're in trouble. They're in trouble because you don't have a plethora of people out there that you have, some stars, and, obviously Nick Aldis is still there, and they have some people still there. But Wade Barrett, Stu Bennett, John Gold, he's got to be a lock for WWE. Props to all of you. People were giving me credit for it, which I like. And I'm not going to lie, too. That's why I like doing solo shows. Because when you hit it, why is my mouse not working? There we go. When you put something like that up there, sorry, school, I got to take your thing down. You put something up like that, and you do a solo show, it's nice to be the only person that they could give credit to. When you do a show with other hosts, then the whole show gets the credit. And I know that's generous and everything, but, I like being able to take credit for things that I say and not others. But I'll say this, with Stu Bennett, Wade Barrett, last week we were talking about it. And a lot of you out there said, you know what, put Nigel McGuinness in NXT UK. And I repeated it and I said, excellent idea. I think it's phenomenal. And sure enough, WWE announced that Nigel McGuinness will be part of NXT UK. The only difference is Nigel McGuinness will be here in the United States, and they're going to simulcast him overseas. But Nigel, I don't think people put the two together. If Nigel McGuinness is now going to be part of NXT UK, chances are he's not part of NXT US anymore. So who fills that role? So the fact that they already announced Nigel for NXT UK, and I doubt he's going to do double duty, they must have signed Stu Bennett. He must have a deal. And that is, you think, even from behind the scenes, from Dave Lagana, Ricky Starks, Zicky Dice, if they lose Thunder Rosa, you look at Stu Bennett, and there's some other women that have wrestled in other promotions now. NWA is going to have a long time to recover. You don't have a plethora of stars out in indie land right now. I know they have Carney land, but they got to worry more about indie land because there's not a lot of names out there that they could snatch up to replace it. They might have to try to, wow Brian Pillman Jr. and others away from MLW. MLW is not going away anytime soon. Yeah, they could have that working relationship, but if fans out there don't feel like some of the people they're seeing in NWA is NWA and more like somebody just coming in, they're not going to spend crazy money on it. So, let's see. Arian Parastigar. Why is every woman tag team in the WWE breaking apart? You're going to see some other teams form. You know, as far as the Iconics splitting up, it's common sense. They need somebody that's a heel on Mondays that's not part of Four Horsewomen. And putting Peyton Royce as singles, she will be feuding with Asuka within the next month or two. Peyton Royce will be feuding with Asuka. You will realize that the split was done because they need some heels on Monday. Sasha and Bayley, you know, I would assume are SmackDown. They're not champions anymore, tag. So they got to be SmackDown. So who is your biggest heel? You can't use Nia and Shayna. They're tag champions right now. So somebody else has to break out. As far as Bayley and Sasha breaking up, this was 8, 9, 10 months in the making. It's about time. I'll just tell you this much. I was shocked how many people tonight actually thought that Sasha was going to turn on Bayley. You know, because Sasha kept, you know, getting the digs from Bayley and stuff like that. I never, you follow my show every week, always said Bayley is turning on Sasha. Sasha chasing Bayley makes more sense than Bayley chasing Sasha. Sasha don't have a belt. Bayley is doing perfect in her role as a heel, and I had no problem with how the beatdown went down tonight. It was a little confusing because Bayley got pinned also. You know, why would she be so disgruntled with Sasha? You know, it did feel like a little bit unexpected. And it was funny when Michael Cole is wondering, why is this happening? Why is it? I'm like, motherfucker, we've been talking about this for 10 months. Everybody in the WWE universe has been talking about this for 10 months. This should be no shock to Michael Cole whatsoever. I'm going to pull the hat back. I don't know. It just feels more comfortable like that. So, no, look, it's 2 tag teams. You're going to see some other tag teams reform. Now, I don't know if the heels that we saw walking is going to be part of a future tag team. Some people are thinking Chelsea Green. Some big people are thinking, who is Vanessa Bourne? I think some people were saying tonight. You know, be funny if it's not a woman at all. I'm not saying, you know, that it's not, but I just thinking outside the box. That would be pretty wild if it gets revealed that it's not a woman. And we go back and we throw this out there. No, I don't think it's Emma. No, that's not Emelina. Look at those legs. Those legs were thick. Now, I'm not saying that in a negative way. They were thick. So, you know, you see Retribution, you try to like match up the eyelashes and the eyes to like people like, oh, that's me and him. We got to now match up the legs. We got to look at legs that are a little bit thicker, you know. No, I don't think it. God, I'm not trying to say this to be racial, but Dorian, how the fuck could it be Velveteen Dream? With what? Caucasian pantyhose on? I mean, I think we could safely say it's not a black woman or a black man. We saw Caucasian legs. So, Tessa Blanchard, you imagine if Tessa Blanchard came in with a fur coat? What if it's Charlotte Flair? I don't think I want. No, I don't. Why would we want Charlotte on SmackDown also? There you go, 4 Horsewomen again. Becky. No, Becky's out. I'm thinking of Alexa. Lexi. You have, and no, wait a minute. The more I think about that, it makes sense. You have Lexi, Nikki, Bayley, Sasha. No. How come almost everybody has an E at the end of the name? Or Val? Sasha, Bayley, Lexi, Nikki, Chelsea, maybe, Ingy. I don't know. No, actually, you know what? How come everybody's just 2 syllables? Lacey. Yes, Naomi is 3, but Lacey, Nikki, Chelsea, Becky, Nikki, Lexi, Sasha, Bayley, Dana. Anyway. Have a super chat event. Go towards first responders in the near future. Joe, we did super chats. We donated money to Shad Gaspard's family, a couple of hundred. We donated money towards, I can't remember what charity it was. It was right after, I'm trying to remember which tragedy. So many tragedies. We did one for, oh man, I'm drawing a blank. We did like 3 different charity ones, but we could do it, but, we want to do one particular. By the way, oh, man, did you see that? Who's the guy out of Rochester? They showed the footage of the cops killing that guy in Rochester, and they're blaming on, like, that's what we were trained? What are you, a fucking robot? What was his name, chat? I don't have his name in front of me because I just saw the video last night. And he had like some mental issues, and I think he had PCP in his system. Yeah, it was Daniel something with an S. I can't remember. Someone's going to post it in the chat. If anybody on the archive, there's like an 8-second delay for some reason, or a 5-second delay between me talking and the chat room. It's more for technical stuff. It's not for like, Daniel Prude. Daniel Prude. That's what it was. I mean, look, the covering over his head, that I totally understood, because this is March. This is right around COVID, so much unknown. And if anybody who's watching live PD in March and in April, this for a fact, putting all controversy aside, a lot of people that were getting arrested were spitting in the face of cops. And, they would spit and they would say, the COVID spit. So, when this guy was yelling and this and that, they put the spit screen over his head so he wouldn't spit in anybody's faces. But why you have his head pinned to the floor makes no sense to me. And, it sucks that, it took this long for that to come out. But Daniel Prude, it's the same, man. This training excuse, and I stick up for cops. I truthfully believe that 95 to 98% of cops are good with the right intentions, but you have about 90% of cops, I think, that have the right intentions. And you have other cops that have the right intentions as well. The problem is a lot of people are brought up in this snowflake era, and I've talked about this before. My friend who was a cop, he's now retired. I told this story once before. We went to a club in the early 90s, and he had a fist fight with someone over a girl. He got his ass kicked. He had a piece on him. All right, never thought about taking it out. He thought he could take this guy, and he just got his ass kicked. To these days, you start wailing on a cop, they start just throwing bullets out there. Some people don't understand the difference between fighting for their lives or fearing for their lives and getting their ass kicked. Just because somebody, punches you in the face. Nobody wants to be punched in the face. But you might break a tooth, you might break your nose, you might get a black eye. But you ain't fearing for your life. Somebody punches me in the face, I'm going to put 6 bullets in them? Get the fuck out of here. I think anybody, common sense, would say that. There's a big difference. But I will say this also, and we're going to get right back to SmackDown. I'll say it for 30 seconds because I don't want to get political tonight. People also need to understand, too, you have the whole world painting the picture that all cops are evil. That's why you're seeing a lot of incidents now, because you keep painting this picture that all cops are evil. Whenever somebody interacts with a cop, they have no respect for the cops anymore. And when they have no respect for the cops, that's when people start thinking, I'm going to punch this motherfucker in the mouth and he ain't going to do nothing. This is and that, or I got cameras around this and that. Problem is, cops still have their guns. You don't, or you might. And if you do, chances are you're going to lose your life over it. So we have to stop with this. Every cop is evil, because the more you do that, you're stereotyping that every cop is evil, and nobody has respect for cops anymore, and that's what makes it worse. So it's messed up, man. That's why I'm not trying to like shield myself from that stuff, but I don't watch the news much of anymore. I mean, I keep up to date with stuff, but I'm just trying to have fun, do my job in my office, spend time with my lady, see my parents, hope that they have many more years on this earth, and spend some time with you. Hopefully my health stays good. I lose a little more weight in the process. That's all I care about. I honestly don't give a shit about anything else. I started it last year. Yours truly worries about yours truly and my inner circle. Everyone else, I feel bad for some people out there, but you got to pick yourself up, Or you could tweet about it and get all the sympathy tweets, and you're still nowhere where you should be. So a little bit more, and then we'll get to SmackDown. Anthony Diaz, can I talk about when I used to upload my edited XXX videos on LimeWire? Oh, no. The beheading one, that wasn't me uploading it. I'll tell a very quick story. Some of you may remember her. She worked in indie wrestling here in the Northeast. In fact, I even think she worked for Ring of Honor for a short period of time. I was friends with her for a little while. Her name was Dana Damison. Some of you may remember her. And very cool chick. Hung out with her a little bit here and there. She worked at one point for a strip joint, and I actually would go to her job and hang out over there. So one time, she sends me a video, and I don't know if she sent me the video telling me that it was her naked or something else. She's like, I want you to watch this really hot video. And me, I'm home, and I'm like, hey, all right, check it out. I put the thing in the Winamp or whatever it was, and it was some beheading, not this head, but some other head being removed for some criminal act in like Iran or something like that. And I'm like, this is what you send me? Then I told it on my old show that I was doing. I think I was doing a Minority Report at the time. So then what people were doing was, oh, DT, I got this exclusive footage. Kurt Angle cut this crazy-ass promo in TNA. Yeah, I'm going to send it to you. And I would put it in my Winamp, and it's somebody getting the head cut off. That was the running joke. So everybody out there, I'm just telling you right now, if you try to send me videos, I don't care if you say it's, a cameo of my favorite wrestlers shouting me out. I will not watch it. I will never fall for that again. That happened multiple times. And I just finished telling everybody Wednesday about my friend with EMS. Hey, you see my wedding pictures? And I look at it, and some guy who's got run over by a truck is splat all over the floor. So, Jay Carlos, maybe Victoria, maybe not. That is not Victoria Legs. That is somebody tall. I will tell you, that looked like somebody tall, wearing the heels with the robe. It's gotta be somebody with a name. It's gotta be somebody with a name. Because you're not gonna do promos like that, teasing like, who is it? Even if it is, let's say Vanessa Bourne. This is nothing against her, but let's say it's her. Right now, you're just showing the legs, the calves, the heels, part of a fur coat. Who is it? Now they reveal the rest of her body, and it's Vanessa Bourne. You know what some people can say? Who's that? Who that? So it's gotta be a noticeable name. Gotta think about it a little bit. I don't think it's Summer Rae. Oh, that's not Melina Legs. I don't think that was Melina Legs. That look, you know what's weird about it? It looked like somebody taller. I don't know. It looked like somebody taller. I got the Charlotte vibe when I first saw the legs. I said, nah, that can't be Charlotte. I mean, I saw that pose of her and Andrade spoofing, I almost said Spaceballs, Scarface, with Tony Montana and Sharon Stone, I think it was. If you guys You didn't see it yet? Go on Twitter and check it out. It actually is pretty cool. I give them credit. They did it almost perfect to the T. So, Eva Marie, I don't think so. Eva Marie telling lots of people she's got unfinished business in the WWE. I'm like, what? The rest of the staff didn't tell you you're fired? Like, I have nothing against her, but unfinished business in what way? I mean, did you forget pencils in your drawer? I mean, unfinished business in what way? She couldn't wrestle a lick. She did okay in NXT, but I don't know what this unfinished... I know what she means by it. She feels that she could have done a lot more and didn't get the opportunity to do so. I get it. I just don't know. I don't know if I see that, to be honest with you. I don't know. Got to think about it a little bit further. Cassette Classics, MSNM is the real enemy of the people. Mainstream media, yeah, I think so. They definitely don't help, but you know, it is what it is. Look, majority of people are not stupid. They can see what's going on. But like I say, it's easy. It's easy. If all of us just treated everybody else like you want to be treated, that's it. That's it. That's how I treat everybody. I treat everybody like I want to be treated. Sometimes I don't get it back, and sometimes some people take advantage of it, and sometimes some people almost have to depend on me. And that's where I draw the line. But still, I always try to treat people like I want to be treated. And if it's not reciprocal, you know, so be it. You know, it's never going to be perfect. So, top 3 X-Pac matches of all time, Psycho Jet Black. He had an awesome match in WCW when he was part of the NWO. I think it was against Rey Mysterio, I believe it was. He had, it might have been Eddie Guerrero, actually. He had a phenomenal match in WCW. It was great. I actually liked some of the work that he did with Kane, believe it or not. Yeah, Eddie versus X-Pac, yes. Yes, in fact, you want to know something? NWO sold out. It's weird, but it's one of those nights where, you know this, usually we have deaths, wrestler deaths, that we always remember. You know, somebody dies, and then somebody will say, oh, do you remember what you were doing or where you were when blah, 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 blah. Like, I remember where I was when Owen Hart just died tragically. I remember where I was when they did the announcement with Pillman, where I was with the Benoit stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things I remember. But I also have other memories for some reason. And I remember NWO sold out. Was that on a Saturday? I think it might have been on a Saturday, if I remember correctly. But I remember going to my friend's house to play cards. And he had one of these big floor TVs that are like thick. I mean, just like gigantic thick, like Nia Jax thick. And I'm saying that as a compliment. And, you know, we were like, what the hell is this? And we didn't realize NWO sold out, was on TV. And I remember we were watching it as we were playing cards. And I remember them tearing it up. So, but you want to know something too? I actually, as crazy as this sounds, I enjoyed X Factor. I don't know why so many people crap on X Factor, but I actually liked that group. I liked the theme song. I thought X Factor was a little bit underrated. You know, Razor Ramon versus 123 Kid is more cliche, like, you know, the ultimate underdog won that match. You know, I liked when he took the money and ran out, and he had gotten knocked out silly earlier, you know, in the night. It roared in the city, New York City. But oh no, Psycho Jet, I used to love the X Factor theme. I had it on a ringtone at one point for maybe like 2-3 months. I don't know. Fear Factor I never liked. Never liked that. Never liked Fear Factor. Did not like Fear Factor at all. So let's chat a little bit about SmackDown. You know, look, we commented a hell of a lot of it already, so we don't have to really get into every little detail about it. But I got to talk about the opening with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. You know, Roman Reigns coming out to the same music. I have no problem with that. That music got boos for many, many years when WWE didn't want the boos. So when you hear dun 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 dun, that's fine. You don't have to change that. When he hit the ring, and I wrote down some quotes, and when Paul Heyman said, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I serve as the special counsel to your reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Champion, Roman Reigns." Methodical, doesn't have to get loud, very serious. And, you know, Paul Heyman talking about just when you think that he's out, Roman Reigns pulls him back in. And he talks about how it's not Paul Heyman corrupting Roman Reigns, but it's Roman Reigns corrupting Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman noted that he was a castaway, but Roman Reigns saved him. And he talked about how Roman Reigns did everything for WWE, but nobody cared about Roman Reigns. I laughed my ass off when he was talking about Braun Strowman and The Fiend. And this gave me flashbacks because this was so on point. And he said, when it's the next day and you have your new heavyweight champion and you show up on Fox News, who do you want sitting at Fox News? This is your new heavyweight champion. And he's right. I remember when Benoit showed up on Fox News. I remember Roman Reigns, Kurt Angle, the list goes. They would show up on Fox News the next day, professional suit, very business-like, Charlotte showing up there, others. And he's like, you want a fiend or a monster to show up on Fox News? I thought that was so on point more than anything else. Then he talks about Michael Cole and Corey Graves. He points at them, and I wrote it down, so I said it word for word pretty much. He says, the names of these four contenders don't deserve to come out of my mouth. I'll leave their resumes to be hyped up by Anderson Cooper and Carmella's latest boyfriend. I thought that was funny, man. And then, he basically, did his shtick. But then Roman Reigns gets on the mic, and here's a couple of things right off the bat. It's no longer Roman Reigns' yard. Remember, it's my yard. Roman Reigns traded in the yard for an island. So now it's an island. Not only that, Paul Heyman is not an advocate. Paul Heyman is considered the special counsel to the tribal chief. So, they're twisting it a little bit, and I like it. But one thing that Roman Reigns said that I got to point out to everybody out there, when Roman Reigns talked about how, let me see, I maybe I accidentally deleted it. What was show up and win? Was that the catchphrase that he said? I think it was show up and win. Let me see. Maybe I have it right here. Hold on. I'm just going through my... Is it show up and win? Someone in the chat, bail me out on this one. Yeah, they're saying show up and win. The reason why that's a big deal, for people that don't know, and this is something you got to realize too. Some people out there think Roman Reigns is going to be a full-blown monster heel. Not show up and wreck. There was something today like show up and win. I think it was show up and win. People that don't know, WWE just filed a trademark for that same phrase, and I think it's show up and win. And when you go under the trademark, if you go on the trademark website and you see what it's actually for, it says that it is for clothing, mostly T-shirts, jackets, could be sweatshirts, hoodies, underwear, bottoms, shorts, dresses, pajamas, could be Halloween stuff. So the reason why I say it, show up and win. Thank you. Daniel Price and others, thank you. Show up and win. WWE just filed for a whole bunch of trademarks for Show Up and Win on clothing. They're coming out with a lot of new merchandise for Roman Reigns. They want people to buy that merchandise. So if you think that Roman Reigns is going to be such a monster heel that all the kids and everyone else are going to feel that he turned his back on them, I wouldn't go to that extent. I think it might be a step below Bayley, because Bayley's been a heel, but Bayley still sells some merchandise. But they're coming out, this is Roman Reigns now. They're going to come out with a crazy amount of new merchandise. They want people to buy it. So, thank you, Sam. But yeah, so the fact that they're coming out with that merchandise tells you, oh yeah, I got it here. Show Up and Win. They filed it August 29th. And it was funny. Did you see some websites today reporting on that? They reported it, and then they write that the trademark is unknown and they don't know what it's for. And then right underneath it, it tells you what it's for. It was pretty funny. This is people that just cut and paste. It was pretty hilarious. So, but yeah, that is going to be, that's the show Up and Win is going to be his new catchphrase. And, you know, they're going to believe that in others. Anything that'll make money right now, they're going to put it out there. They want fans to buy it. So, anyway. Heavy Machinery beating Miz and Morrison. You know, it was a fun match. You know, again, this was a little corny because I think back to after Sonya did what she did to Mandy Rose, and Miz and Morrison are joking and making fun of her. And remember when I said you had Otis that was doing this? And after all of these weeks, they have just a regular match. I don't know. Morrison grabs the briefcase and runs off, which I didn't like at all because WWE keeps doing this, claiming something that they feel is rightfully theirs, but it's not. You know, Sami Zayn with his title, you know, MVP with Apollo's title. Like I said, there was another one very recently that I'm forgetting about right now. I don't know, but they did a little comedy later on because Otis and Tucker are trying to find Miz and Morrison. Otis wants his briefcase back. And Tucker's a little worried because he thinks the contract is in the briefcase. And Otis says, I don't keep the contract in the briefcase. I keep it in my lunchbox. Well, you see where the comedy is going to go from there. If the contract is in the lunchbox, then where is the lunch? Get it? Dumb humor, but, you know, it does sort of make sense. So now we have that segment, you know, Drew Gulak, who just seemed to have been a heel, beating up Strowman. He's got a birthday hat on. He's with the Lucha House Party, and they have a cake for Xavier Woods, who's coming back. Big E goes outside thinking Woods is there, and instead he gets jumped from Sheamus. I already talked about it. And again, I didn't see not one person online tonight saying, why do they have him strapped with his back on the gurney if he's got all his glass and stuff in him? He should be on his stomach, because all that glass is digging into his head and his ear and his neck and his ears and his back. And blah. I thought it was so stupid. This is me nitpicking. If I worked in creative, I would have been like, make sure you strap him while he's on his stomach, because it's going to look stupid if he's got all his glass sticking in his head and his neck and his ears and his back and this and that, and you put him on the gurney. That shit hurts, you know? But that's just me. So now we don't know who is going to replace Big E in the four-way match. Well, I knew one person that had an idea what it could be, but I'm just messing around. Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, retaining the women's tag titles, beating Bayley and Sasha Banks. Nia Jax, as much as you may not like her, you have to admit, she's actually done pretty damn good in her matches with Sasha and Bayley. That goes to show you that when she's in the ring with someone who is also a ring general, maybe more than her, she actually could do pretty damn good. I think the problem with Kairi Sane is, even though Kairi Sane is absolutely a ring general, in WWE, I don't think it was ever looked that way. Plus, there might be a little of a communication gap there. Alexa Bliss's storyline with Nia Jax, nobody was really, like a ring general. So it was pretty much, two people trying to find their way. But I still say this to this day, Tungoon. Nia Jax versus, I believe, Ronda Rousey. If that's the match that I'm thinking of, I think that was the best match in her career. She had a match, I think it was against Ronda Rousey, that I was like, wow, she really showed that she can go. But again, and it's funny because Ronda Rousey's not a ring general either, but for some reason that match was just phenomenal. I don't know if it was at Money in the Bank. It could have very well been. But Nia and Shayna, they have that comedic dynamic. They don't get along, but as soon as that match was over, Nia went to help up Shayna. So they have a great dynamic. They're oddballs, but there's a little bit of comedy in there. But Shayna Baszler, man, give her credit too, because everybody was writing her off that, oh, Vince doesn't believe in her and what a waste and blah, 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 and she's horrendous. And blah. You know what, Dorian, you may be right. We might see some Dr. Shelby segments down the line. We very well may see that, trying to get along. And who knows, man. It'll never be on the level of Daniel Bryan and Kane, team hell no. But this may end up being some really comedy gold that we look back at a couple of years and be like, you remember those segments with Shayna and Nia? They were pretty damn good. As you can see, we're going a little bit over. Almost 1,000 of you hanging out right now. So, I'm kicking back a little bit. I can't stay here too late tonight because, I have been up since, oh my God, I got no sleep last night. Something happened, for anybody that was on, something happened with Discord last night and Patreon, that apparently Patreon had they were updating their system, and there's something wrong where Discord and Patreon don't link up. So everybody who was Patreon lost all their privileges on Discord. So I had people that couldn't connect. And, I apologized to this guy, Sean Kenter, yesterday, but he pissed me off. Because here I am trying to fix the problem. I thought it was something that I screwed up. And I'm trying to do it, and Kev's doing his solo show. And then I got this guy writing in the chat saying, oh, there's tons of people that can't get in. And I'm like, tons? Giving me price. So I said to him, I said, how many people is tons? There's 3 fucking people. Nothing against the 3 people. But I'm like, stop with your melodramatic shit. Tons, 1,000 people hanging out live right now, that's tons. 10 people on Discord, that's not tons. 2 people at a block for some reason, that's not tons. But it ended up, I swear to God, Mish, I wish he was here. He would vouch for me on this. Between last night and early this morning, I spent almost 4.5 hours for my Patreon and Wrestling Soup's Patreon. I, one by one, added the Discord roles back to every Patreon. Nothing automatic. I actually went into every profile, looked at every membership to see who belongs where, and added them. It took me 4.5 hours to do. I got virtually no sleep. And then I had to go to my regular job today. So I'm definitely overdue for some sleep. And then tomorrow night, we got a big night. We got AEW. And then the recap right after. So, anyway, let's get back to SmackDown. Shayna Baszler, give her credit. I know they tried to recreate with the Muto lock and Kirifuda clutch. But this time Bayley countered with the Bayley to Bayley. Look, I think we all knew there was no chance Sasha and Bayley were regaining the titles. There was one part. You got to go back and see it. Seriously. As much as I'm praising Nia Jax tonight, there's one thing that happened that you got to go see. You got to go see it. There was one point, the latter part of the match, the story was that Sasha had a knee injury. She went into the ring post with a knee, selling the knee. Nia's working on the knee. Shayna's working on the knee. She tries to stand up and her leg gives way. So the whole thing was Sasha's knee. There's one point where Nia kicks Sasha in the back. I hope some of you saw it. It was near the end of the match. Do you remember when I laughed at Cody? Do you remember that segment where he's in the truck and he's revving his engine and he floors it and the truck goes maybe like 5 miles an hour and it just gently brushes against the guardrail? I said that could have been what's his dog's name? Winter? What's it? Widow? What's Cody's dog's name? Bleach? What was the dog's name? There's somebody out there. What's his name? He could have hit the dog instead of the guardrail. And the dog, Pharaoh. He could have hit Pharaoh instead. You remember what I'm talking about with the guardrail? Cody's in that 4x4 and he revs it and he hits the guardrail and he hit it so light that if the guardrail was Pharaoh instead, the dog wouldn't have gotten hurt. The dog would have looked at him like, the fuck you doing? Are you stupid? I mean, tell you that. Go back and look tonight. Nia did the Cody. She kicked Sasha in the back so lightly. Do you remember when Hogan used to do chair shots in WCW? And it would be so wimpy. It would be like a 90-year-old would give a chair shot. Like he would literally, like if this was the chair, and he was going to, if this was somebody's head, he would be like, instead of just whacking him, it would be go back and see Nia's kick today. I saw that and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It was hilarious, man. It was so bad. But everything else in the match was very good. I loved early on when they were outside the ring. They have Bayley and Sasha upside down and they throw them against the padding. It doesn't hurt, but it's a great visual. But no, it's not even Devin about not trying to hurt people. Go back and look at the kick. It was such a polite kick. Seriously, it's almost, oh my God, if she would have, put it this way, if she would have kicked tissue paper, you know the tissue paper you wrap like Christmas gifts? If somebody held the tissue paper like this and she kicked it, it wouldn't have even ripped. That's how light it was. It was so light. It was a polite kick. So anyway, basically we have Nia Jax with a crossbody on both Sasha and Bayley, and she gets the win. And match is over. Bayley and Sasha Banks. Sasha is in the middle of the ring, and her knee she's screaming and writhing in pain. Bayley's sitting in the corner, acting all concerned. We got some matarazzas from EMS trying to help her. And you have one lady, she's like, is it hurt here? Is it hurt here? And she's like touching her, like the sole of her shoe. So, whatever. But they go to a commercial break. They come back, still concerned for Sasha. Sasha doesn't want anybody to help her, but Bayley tries to help her up. Sasha can't get up. She's going to try to roll out of the ring instead. As soon as Sasha goes under the ring, Bayley kicks her and starts wailing on her. And Michael Cole's shocked. Like he had no idea this was coming. You know. And their commentating during this was pretty lousy. They were silent for long periods of time, and you have this soccer noise in the background that it really took away from it. I mean, there should have been chants. I think the NXT wrestlers around ringside would have made this feel so much more than what it was. No, fans yelling at Bayley. Not only that, somebody pointed it out, and I noticed it too. You know, where are all the officials in storyline trying to stop Bayley? Bayley is just having her way with Sasha, and you don't have any officials. No, remember when I was saying with Randy Orton, every time Randy would do something, you have the officials. No, Randy! No! No, Randy! No! Where were all the officials today? I mean, nobody was around. Everybody was in the back having a cigarette. Where's all the officials? No, Bayley! No! You've done enough! No! What are you doing? Nothing. And again, might be a little stickler to detail, but you can't have one person going postal on someone and you got 50 officials trying to break it up. And then you do this and everybody's just hanging out and watching it and watching it and watching it. Where's Postman Pierce? So, but let's say this, though. Bayley's attack on Sasha looked great. The turn might have been kind of corny because they really, I mean, yes, they lost their match tonight, but Bayley is still a champion. So Bayley turning, you know, it just felt a little bit rushed, which is amazing to say after 10 months. But if you remember what I said last week, there's only 3 weeks left from now until the pay-per-view. So are you rushing this? Or are they going to sell that Sasha Banks is injured and is out for a couple of weeks? Somebody else is going to have to come out and confront Bayley for her actions. Who's it going to be? You know, Naomi? I don't know. But I hope they don't put Sasha versus Bayley at Clash of Champions. I hope they don't do that. I think you leave Sasha off. Maybe Sasha shows up at Clash of Champions and starts wailing on Bayley. But I think it's a little bit too soon. I don't want to see Charlotte Flair showing up and confronting Bayley for Sasha. Because even if you think of Charlotte's character, why would Charlotte, like, come to the defense? What you did was so sinister. If anything, Charlotte would be like, that's exactly what I would do. You know? So it would be kind of you know? And the problem is, this is a problem WWE has. I don't know if anybody thought about this. They have isolated Sasha and Bayley so much and pushed them so hard at the expense of everyone else for the last 6 months. In storyline, why would anybody on the WWE roster show up on SmackDown next week to confront Bayley for what she did to Sasha? Anybody that comes out, whether it's Lacey Evans or Naomi or Dana Brooke or anybody else, why, after all of the taunting and all of the stuff that Bayley and Sasha have done to the women's roster, that's WWE's fault. They have isolated them so much that it makes no sense for anybody to come out for Sasha's defense. I don't know. Just thinking about it. And she's got to defend because it's Clash of Champions. Not Clash of all champions except for Bayley. So, I don't know. But very, very, very well, you know, done attack tonight. So we got 2 ambulance spots tonight. Big E going out from Sheamus and Sasha Banks from Bayley. So, yeah, everybody's agreeing. It doesn't make sense. Nikki Cross is involved with the Lexi. And the Fiend next week, Bray Wyatt, has got a little surprise for the Firefly Funhouse. You think it's going to be Alexa Bliss? I'm telling you, remember my idea from a couple of weeks ago? Braun, Nikki versus Lexi and the Fiend? Very possible. Alexa Bliss apologizes to Nikki today for breaking the mug. She didn't know what she was thinking. You'd think that she would, like, come up with a new gift. You know, look, I'm sorry for what I did. I got you a new gift. Get you a couple of Baron Corbin cards. You know, I don't know. Again, maybe it's just me thinking a little bit too much. I like when I think, you know. So, anyway. Like I said, we only had 3 matches on the card. So we've already done 2. We had a couple of segments. Again, like I said, Morrison is in the back with the briefcase. They open it up and Otis's lunch is in there. Wah, wah, wah. Bray Wyatt, he lost his favorite toy, but next week he's got a special guest joining the Firefly Funhouse. I wouldn't mind if it's Postman Pierce, to be honest with you, but I don't think it is. It's got to be, you know what, maybe it's Nikki. Who knows? We had another segment. AJ Styles, by the way, in case you're not aware, even though we talked about it early this week, AJ Styles, The Rock, and Kevin Nash all revealed that they all have battled COVID I think The Rock's wife and Kevin Nash still have loss of smell and taste. That's one of side effects that a lot of people have experienced. I tell you, man, I know a few people that had COVID, customers-wise, and it puts, for some people, does a number on the body. You know, I have one customer that I have to ask him stuff 3 times now. I'm not kidding. He was in my office about a week ago. He had gotten COVID about 2 or 3 months ago. His mom died because of it also. The whole family got it. And guy walks in my office. He's about, I'd say, 65. And he sits down, and I said to him, I said, do you have the credit card for the payment you want to do? And he's just looking at me like I'm sexy or something. He's just looking into my eyes. And I'm like, do you have the credit card? And he's like, what? I'm like, do you have the credit card? And he's like, oh, yeah. But I had to say it 3 times. And he was looking right at me. And he just got lost. And it's definitely noticeable since he had COVID. Yeah, Ric Flair's wife had COVID. They still let Ric Flair in a piece. Look, if you test someone, you test them twice. I always think in circumstances like that, you got to test someone twice just to make sure that the first one is not a false positive or a false negative. But anyway, we have Sami Zayn comes out. He's got his Intercontinental Championship. He doesn't like the way Greg Hamilton introduced him because he's got a championship with him. Then Jeff Hardy comes out, and it seems like it's almost like a comedy segment. Like, you know, if you want a shot, I shouldn't have to ask for a shot, and I shouldn't have to. And they're going back and forth, back and forth. Next thing you know, AJ Styles' music hits. So, if you might remember last week, I said maybe we'll have a 3-way, AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy versus Sami Zayn. So AJ Styles comes out, and he immediately starts wailing on Jeff Hardy. Sami Zayn's a little reluctant at first. Sami Zayn starts wailing on Jeff Hardy. Then AJ Styles starts wailing on Sami Zayn. Now you realize, okay, we got a 3-way coming up at Clash of Champions, I think. And Sami Zayn ends up getting the upper hand. But what I thought was dumb is Sami Zayn reaches for his belt. Jeff Hardy's laid out. In storyline, why wouldn't Sami Zayn grab Jeff Hardy's belt too? They're identical belts. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Sami Zayn's got his name played on it, but I'd walk out with 2 belts. Why would you leave the other person with a title to say, I'm the champion? No, I'm the champion. No, I'm the champion. No, you grab both titles. You say, fuck you. I have both belts. Come and get it. Just storyline-wise. So, anyway, Fatal 4-way match determined the new #1 contender for Roman Reigns' title. You know, as I showed you earlier, I was thinking outside the box. When Paul Heyman went to see Adam Pearce, I thought, okay, you know, put Jey Uso, give him an opportunity. And match was decent. I did enjoy when Matt Riddle threw Jimmy Uso over the LED panel. Did you guys see that? He threw him over the LED panel and he just disappeared. I thought that was pretty cool. But, you know, it's too bad. It's because I did Thunderdome last week, for people that don't know. I put screenshots and everything. I was part of Thunderdome for Payback, just for the main event. WWE invited me. I didn't even register for Payback. They sent me an invite. Main event. Show up at 9:15. I posted the screenshots. I posted the email. It was weird. I didn't even request it. They sent me an invite. So, okay. I still haven't looked back to see exactly where I sat. But it's a shame they don't show you where you are in there. I understand for some people it would really suck, because if they have you all the way on the side just for filler, and you look on the screen and all you see is wall, it'd be like, man, this kind of sucks. But if you're sitting like front row or the first couple of rows, they should show you the perception of where you are. Now, yes, I understand what everybody's going to say. Well, then you'd have to have cameras on every LED panel. I agree. Unfortunately, technology's not that, advanced yet where you could have a little camera on every seat. But, when it would have been cool to see the fans react when Riddle threw Uso over the LED panels. It would have been cool to see a couple of people on the LED panel go like that, but they don't do anything like that. So, no, Pat, I know the reason why they invited me. I mentioned this before. WWE is being a lot more selective who they put in Thunderdome. They're accepting registrations from everybody. But what they're doing is they're looking at the email addresses and they're linking them up to people who have active accounts with WWE, whether it's the WWE Network or the shop. And what happened was they're looking for people that they feel comfortable with. Now, I had registered for SmackDown, but like I had said that day, it was my mom's birthday. I came home at 6:30 at night. By the time I got my stuff together, ate and everything else, there was no way I was going to be able to sit in Thunderdome for 2 hours, prepare for the show, and then do the show. So I ended up passing it up. I did send an email saying, look, I can't do it. Give my spot to someone else. And about an hour later, I get an email with an invite for Payback. And the invite said 9:15 p.m. to show up. And me, I'm around long enough to know that right now 9:15 is the main event. So I'm like, wow. I didn't know if it was cool or if it was weird, because I didn't even request Payback. But they sent me the invite. I accepted it, showed up, and I got to be part of the main event, which was pretty cool. But I was actually going to do it earlier this week, but it's not as easy as you think, because I have so many things trying to plan and testing audio, testing video, getting notes together, and, just sitting here going, it's a little difficult. The stars have to align perfectly. And unfortunately, there seems to be no days where there's live shows where I'm not doing a show. But they're being a lot more selective. And I think tonight, you might have had one little troll here or there putting something online, but they are slowly getting that straightened out. So, but, in the end, when Riddle threw Uso over the LED panels, I started thinking, shit. There's probably no chance that he's going to recover from this, but he did. Matt Riddle hits his finisher, hits the bro to sleep. Did he do it to Riddle? Did he do it to Corbin or Sheamus? I think he did it to Corbin. And then out of nowhere, Riddle looks up, and here is Jey Uso with the splash onto Riddle, and he pins Riddle 1, 2, 3. So we have Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns at Clash of Champions. Take note that Roman Reigns didn't come out to congratulate Jey Uso. As I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, Roman Reigns is not even part-time. He is part-time. Which is fine. I'd rather have a little bit of Roman Reigns than none. I know some people just don't like Roman Reigns, and look, for many years I don't like him either. As long as this guy is going to be a little bit more active than The Fiend or Braun Strowman when they were champions, then I'm fine with that. No, Daniel, I see no way. There's no way Jey Uso is beating Roman Reigns. Maybe there's a DQ. Who wants a DQ finish? So, yeah, no, the family will be involved in this storyline. Like I said, Roman Reigns is going to be around, I don't know how many weeks in a row I got to say this. Roman Reigns is going to only be around a very small number of people. And he's only going to be on TV for about 5 minutes. That's it. And I said it earlier this week. Expect Roman. That's why the whole reports of Retribution won't be on, so they could focus on Roman Reigns. That's asinine. If anything, they spent 10 times as long for Sasha and Bayley. And I don't know. I think it's just foolish that those people came up with that. But I like the main event. I don't mind Jey Uso getting the shot. It's a little bit different. Jey Uso is still injured, so why not? The only thing that you got to realize now is, are we going to now have a continued feud of Big E versus Sheamus? So we'll see. But that was your episode of SmackDown. I thought it was decent. 3 matches only, which is a little bit interesting. But, I'm fine with that. Before we go, let's talk a little bit about ratings for NXT and AEW. Now, I know you're already aware of the ratings for both, but in case you need a little refresher, I have it on the preview for tonight's show. NXT this week for September 1st, Tuesday, did 849,000 viewers. AEW for Wednesday unopposed. Well, NXT was on Sci-Fi, but they did 928,000 viewers. I did get a kick out of a few websites that pointed out, oh, wait a minute, NXT scored 183,000 on Sci-Fi. So if you add NXT Tuesday night plus NXT Sci-Fi, they actually scored 1,032,000 viewers, so they beat AEW this week. You can't do that. Some goofs are actually reporting that. Go figure. So I don't need to get into why one needs to go to Tuesday or Thursday. It's amazing. Have you noticed how many podcasters and websites are now talking about this Tuesday? And one of them's got a... We've been talking about that for how many months? They're only learning this, realizing this now? Ridiculous. But I did get a kick out of Jericho, because Jericho knows how to play the game. And he knows that fans will run with this stuff and make it bigger than what it is. But Chris Jericho was on Busted Open Radio, and they asked him about the possibility of NXT going to a different night, Tuesday or Thursday. Jericho's answer, and I quote, "They should retreat. They should move to any other night. Get away from us. You guys got a great program and it's good. Why would you want to sacrifice your own ratings just to be spiteful and petty to go head to head with AEW? We're not going anywhere, and put on anything you want. We're going to continue to beat you. It's a retreat, but it's also the right move from a business standpoint. Get your head out of your rear end and just worry about your product the same way we worry about ours. If they move to Tuesday, smart move. That way, you guys could get your 850,000, 900,000, whatever. Get 10 million viewers. Congratulations. Let us do our thing, and we'll get over 1 million. I think it's a smart move, business-wise, on theirs. They lost. There's nothing wrong with conceding defeat, moving to a different night, and worrying about your show and not worrying about going head-to-head with AEW because you can't stop us. Jericho knows how to play the game. He knows at the end of the day, you're going to get those big-time obsessed AEW fans are going to run wild with this. He's feeding into the frenzy. At the end of the day, Jericho knows that if NXT goes to a different night, it helps AEW as well. It helps them big time. And vice versa. You see the ratings by itself. They do better when they're unopposed. Some NXT fans get to watch AEW. They don't normally do. You get some AEW fans that don't normally get to watch NXT. Not everybody has 2 TVs. Not everybody watches them at the same time like I do, and some of you as well. But Jericho's not trying to start any wars. Jericho just knows, let me throw a couple of things. Remember, how many of you remember this? You remember when Jericho, when he had left to WWE many, many years ago, I don't know if it was when he was going to do the game show, Free Fall or whatever it was. I don't remember the name, but I think he was going to do the game show, and everybody started making these rumors that he was going to TNA. So I think on his website, he posted that pose with him with the TNA logo behind him, and everybody ran with it. Jericho could possibly sign with TNA. And all Jericho was doing was feeding into the trolls. He was trolling, feeding into the frenzy. He knows how the game is played. This is not to poke the bear. There's a big difference. So, Downfall. Thank you. Thank you, Dorian. Downfall. Remember that show? Remember when we'd only had like 5 or 6 episodes and Jericho issued that statement telling everybody online, you jackasses, you don't know what you're talking about, we're still going to do it, and they never, that was it. I don't blame him, though, because he actually was seen pretty good as a game show host. So, anyway, Moxley was on Busted Open Radio as well, and he was talking about Renee Young and, you know, what she's going to be doing for the immediate future. Did you see those goofs online saying that her phone has been off the hook? She's chilling on the beach, hanging out. You know, people are like, oh, I got an exclusive. Her phone is ringing off the hook. It's like, it's just asinine. But Jon Moxley basically said, you know, she's enjoying some downtime. He thinks that she'll always have a wrestling connection. He talked that she could do cooking, fashion, NHL, wrestling. He even brought up some other wacky stuff, but basically right now she's just chilling, taking it in, trying to relax and enjoy a little bit of, you know, normalcy for a change. So good for her. That's all I have to say. Good for her. By the way, you all said it as well. I give you all credit for this one. Nobody in a million years ever thought Brock Lesnar was going to AEW or Japan or anywhere else. This week, and I mentioned it briefly on Monday, but this week, you had all of these wackos online all teasing Brock Lesnar could possibly go to AEW. AEW has interest in Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar could very well end up in AEW. Then I even saw the one, Renee Young and Mauro Ranallo. Tony Khan wants him to host another show that they're going to do. And it could very well happen, but, you know, this is just people brainstorming. They just don't know how to do it and when to do it. You know, they don't pick the right spots. So you had all these people this week talking about Brock Lesnar, AEW, Brock Lesnar, AEW. 2 funny things happened yesterday and today. The first one was these same websites that less than 72 hours ago were telling all of you about Brock Lesnar at AEW. AEW's interested. Today, we're talking about Brock Lesnar's likely opponent for WrestleMania. Go figure. Second thing is, Jericho was asked about Brock Lesnar, and Jericho said he's not going anywhere. He said that Brock Lesnar demands, you know, high-tier money, and Vince McMahon is a billionaire. Vince McMahon, there's no way that any other promotion is going to outbid Vince McMahon for Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar already has a very light schedule when he wrestles for WWE. And Jericho says that Brock and Vince have a weird love-hate relationship. So even Jericho admits Brock's not going to go anywhere, but I got a kick out of Tony Khan. And I was hoping somebody would have been a little bit more stern about it, but because people are on Twitter having an orgasm, oh my God, Tony, he answered my question. Oh my God, you know, I'm part of this. And they're more worried or more infatuated with being part of a conference call and even getting to ask a question instead of maybe being a little bit more specific. And the reason why I say that is I saw some heavy-duty dodgeball being played with Tony Khan and some reporters this week. Because Tony Khan did a conference call, nothing major coming out of it. He's praising everybody. You know, he feels that their pay-per-view kicked WrestleMania's ass, which is cool. You know, WrestleMania had 2 awesome cinematic matches, which are very hard to beat, even though I did like the Stadium Stampede match probably more. But it was funny because he was asked about Brock Lesnar, and he said that he couldn't comment about it. And people left it alone. And I'm like saying to myself, seriously, I say this as a compliment. I'm like, Tony, genius. Tony Khan is a genius. Because all you got to do is say, I can't comment on that situation. It lets people come to their own conclusion as to why. Brock Lesnar is a free agent. Give me one valid reason why Tony Khan couldn't comment about if they were interested or if they would love to have Brock Lesnar in AEW. I can't comment on that. That was Tony Khan's way of saying to everybody that there's no way we could get Brock Lesnar. We'll probably get outbid for Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is not a good fit in AEW. So rather than have one of those comments out there that could end up getting blown up in his face, he cops out with I can't comment on that. And everybody let it be. Why couldn't he comment on it? Tell me why. Give me one valid reason. There's no 90-day no-compete clause. I could see him not commenting about Renee Young or someone else if there's a 90-day no-compete. But why can't he seriously, that was just when I listened to the 1-hour conference call. I thought it was great. But when I heard that about Brock Lesnar and I heard can't comment on that, and everybody let it be, I was like, wow, the guy is a genius sometimes. Because that's his way of just changing the subject without anybody, hitting him with a hard hit question. So you don't want to play gotcha. You don't want to play Mike Johnson. I'm not saying to do that, but I would have just said, I would have rephrased it a little bit different. I said, Tony, elaborating on what blah, 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 who blah, blah, blah asked earlier, Brock Lesnar is a full-fledged free agent. What would prevent you from commenting as to why, if AEW would be interested in someone like Brock Lesnar? You just say it like that, very politely. You remind everybody out there, Brock Lesnar is a full-blown free agent, so why would you not be able to comment on that? And, you see what kind of response you get, but people are afraid. People think that if they ask a question like that, they'll get probably a decent answer back, and they'll never be invited back again. So that's why yours truly, you notice I'm never invited to any of these things. I don't get any free passes from Fight TV to give out to all of you out there. We got a bigger audience than about 20 of these AEW podcasts combined. And, I can't even get something to give to all of you out there from them. Nada, zero. I see these podcasts, they have 11 viewers. I'm not kidding. It's not my style anymore to put that out there. But, man, there's one in particular that gets all this stuff from these promotions to give away repeatedly. And I went on one of their shows, check it out, about 2 weeks ago. And it was about a half hour in, and I'm looking at the total viewers. With me, it was 11. I said, this is the fucking audience they get, that they're getting all this attention for? I don't know, man. I don't know. People don't like the Donzel Army. They don't like any of us. I don't know why. Maybe we're just too smart for them. And I mean, if all of you out there, it surprises me sometimes. So anyway, if you're interested for the quarter-hour ratings this week, to give you an idea as far as what was the biggest jumps, biggest drops, who scored the highest, who scored the lowest. Now, with NXT, it's a little bit simple because the second half of the show was one match. So I'll give you an example. When all the wrestlers came out NXT for the main event, Balor versus Ciampa versus Gargano versus Cole, between their ring entrances and the start of the match, that went almost 15 minutes. Each person coming out and this and that. So that rating went from 855,000 viewers all the way down to 804. So it was the biggest drop of the night, and it was the lowest rating of the night. But the next quarter, which was the next 15 minutes of the match, that had the biggest increase. So everybody who tuned away because it was just the introductions and other stuff, the rating went from 804 right back up to 869. As you will hear, NXT the entire night was consistently around the 850 mark. The entire night. It was an interesting night for NXT, especially unopposed. Quarter one, which was the street fight, Breezango and Scott versus El Legado del Fantasma, it opened up with 831,000 viewers, which to me was very low. Because we've had some NXT matches going up against AEW that scored in the nines. So the fact that it opened up only with 831, yes, it's a Tuesday night, but I thought that was a little disappointing. The end of that match, and then you had Candice LeRae versus Casey Catanzaro. That went up. It went from 831 to 836. Not much of a change, but it went up a little bit. Bronson Reed versus Timothy Thatcher went from 836 to 855. So we're seeing a nice little increase. Then you had the introductions for the main event. So we went up and then we went down to 804. But once the match started going, the ratings went 869, 864, 839, which was from the 30 to 45 minute mark, which is surprising because that's where most of the pins happened. And the final 15 minutes, which is where everything is decided. The rating went from 839 to 895. So that ended up being the highest quarter of the night. The final 15 minutes of NXT was the highest rating of the night. So obviously they drew everybody in, especially with it being a tie. You know, it was one apiece going into that final 15 minutes. So that was NXT. AEW, a little bit different, interesting too. The opening match, Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz, 883,000 viewers. 883. Decent. Then you have, this is interesting because this is the second week in a row with a Young Bucks match that took a massive drop. It goes to show you, it depends more on who the Young Bucks face instead of just the Young Bucks being in the match. Remember, they fought the Butcher and the Blade and did 1 million viewers. So this time around, Young Bucks and Jurassic Express versus SCU and Private Party, not only did it score the biggest drop of the night, it also scored the lowest quarter of the night. The ratings went from 883 all the way down to 832, which is surprising. The end of that match and the Kenny Omega interview increased slightly to 860. Then you had the end of the Kenny Omega Hangman Page segment with FTR, and then Janela versus Jericho. Biggest increase of the night, went all the way up to 899. Highest quarter rating of the entire night. The remainder of the Jericho Janela match, the brawl with Orange Cassidy, the Sammy Guevara Matt Hardy card exchange, and then the Taz Jake the Snake Roberts, you know, that segment, all that happened in the same 15 minutes. Their ratings went from 899 to 1,008,000. So they broke 1 million just for that quarter. But when you realize the last 3 quarters after that, excellent. So they're at 1,008,000. So then the Brody Lee video hyping up that match, Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb, went from 1,008,000 down to 972. Only about 34,000 ratings drops. It's not bad at all. So they're at 972. The finish of their match, Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, the Moxley promo, and then the segment with Britt Baker and Big Swallow, they should be pretty proud. Went from 972 to 974. Only went up 2,000, but they lost no viewers from that. And then the last quarter hour, Jon Moxley versus Mark Sterling, and the beatdown by MJF and Wardlow after. That rating went from 974 to 999. So that's how they ended. They're going to consistently go over 1 million if they remain unopposed. They just have to tweak some of these storylines a little bit. They're on the cusp of 1 million unopposed, without a doubt. So that gives you an idea as far as where, you know, the ratings were during the night. I thought it was excellent. As you could see, the lights are starting to dim over here. The batteries are starting to go. I mean, I could actually, you know, just to show you how quick it is. I got all these batteries laying. Oh, wait. What did I do with my batteries? I think I have the other batteries inside. Not a big deal. We're going to wrap this up anyway. We're at 2 hours and 50 minutes. And, yeah, you know, I think, this battery, this company sucks. So it's very hard to find these batteries. You know, the funny thing is, my big lights, I now have them on AC power. So I don't have to worry about the power going out. Actually, the funny thing is, I could literally do this. Took the battery from my big light, put it on the little light. Oh, let there be light. Just like that. That's why, like I said, I'm tweaking things over here still. But I like if something goes a little disarray, 2 seconds, click, click, boom, boom, done. So, it's cool. How many of you are still tuning in right now? But I think it's time for me to go. Before you leave, I would appreciate it if you give the episode a thumbs up. Only about 10% of you have done so. And like I said, it gives my videos recommendations elsewhere. Even if you didn't like the show, give it a thumbs down. I'm fine with that as well. But if you could do that, like I say, because we've just only begun here. I mean, for the first 7 months being on YouTube, there were a couple of things that we had to work around and a couple of things that really weren't and look, it's not anybody's fault. It's nothing negative. But now finally being able to just focus 100% on video, now I can really try to take this to another level. I can't wait till we start taking calls, which should be in about 2 weeks. And next week I'll post a thread so we could do a Q&A. And that's pretty much it. So look, if you're around Saturday night, right after the AEW pay-per-view, if you'd like to stop over here for a little while, I'm going to give you a recap. I will be watching it. I will be covering it. I will be paying full price for it. Fight TV, you mother. You know why they probably don't give us breaks? Because they know we can spend the money, But it's all good. It's all good. So I'll be right back here Saturday night. And then we'll see about Monday night. Monday night, like I said, a lot of people, it's funny. I've been doing this 24 years, and Mish has been doing this for, 15 years. And Mish said to me Monday about Monday's show, he doesn't compare it to the shows he does with Joey Numbers. But he said that the discussions we had, he said probably top 3 of his favorite shows that he's ever done. And I was thinking back at the discussions, and I was like, wow, you got someone who's that energetic and really and that's one thing about Mish and I swear on God, this is not to compare me with any other host or anything like that. But the one cool thing that I have with him is that I could call him out on something, or I could really, really go against something. That Velveteen Dream debate was pretty intense. But he doesn't take it personal, and I don't take it personal. He stands by how he feels about certain things, and we, on many occasions, absolutely disagree with each other. But he doesn't mind challenging me on that. And, that lights a fire in me also, because when I debate people, I never liked debating. I've said this before. When I went to school and they would do debate stuff, I would try to hide. Always hated confrontation. I don't like confrontation today, but debates, I love debating. I love debating, and especially with someone that has their facts and someone that is not afraid to lay it out all on the line. Not too many people do that. I don't know many people that do that. So, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he'll be back on Monday. I will ask him over the weekend, and we'll go from there. But, one thing I just want to make sure everybody understands, in no way, shape, or form was he a replacement for Kevin Castle. It's not the case at all. It's just that, I respect the fact that my co-host has no interest on doing video, and he now respects the fact that this is my home. This is what I want to do. And I'm trying to do things, get some opportunities that I lost. And we just go separate directions. Nobody's spiting anybody. I do what makes me happy. He does what it makes him happy. And we still do a show together. It's just on the pay site. Because the pay people, and again, I want to leave everybody with this, 2 seconds. The pay site that we have, we're only charging $2 a month. If that doesn't convince you that we're not trying to do this for a money grab, because we could have easily asked for $5. All right, we did it for $2, thinking that we don't want to break anybody's bank. Plus, you could sign up for a year, get like 10 or 15% off. So like $20 gets you the whole year. We're not trying to make a money grab, but here's the thing. And I've made no secret about this. I was leaving the show 2 years ago. I just, things get tired and old after a while, and I needed a new challenge. And our patrons have invested financially in other things, and they took a lot of stress off of the financial burden that I put on the shows for 20 years. So I felt that an obligation that since they're still supporting us, and there's a lot of people who have been there since day one, that, if I can't put, certain views or feelings aside for an hour and a half on Tuesdays with him, just talk wrestling, have some fun, not think about anything else, and just, enjoy it. If I can't do that, then I shouldn't even have a patron. And that's why the show is continuing. It's, basically, thank you to everybody who supported us. And again, it's not in any way trying to be spiteful, taking the shows away from everyone, because I'm still here on Mondays, I'm still here on Wednesdays. But, it's the fact is, we went separate ways. Because the show on Tuesday is audio only. I don't do video on Tuesday, which honestly makes it easier for me because I don't have to prep. I just do pretty much what everybody else does. I turn the computer on, hit record, talk, have some fun, turn the recorder off, put it online, go to bed. Easy night. So, it shouldn't be sad, Brian. Shouldn't be sad. I mean, it's after, 12 years? No, 14 years of doing it, there's a lot of opportunities that I lost because I wasn't selfish, and I'm not being selfish now. It's just that, I'm getting older, and those opportunities may never come again. And I have to build up a reputation. I have to build up a resume of not only doing what I'm doing here, but tweaking, improving, altering, changing things around, and that's going to come in time. My resume for stuff I've done in the past that's not what people look for. They want to see what is going on right now. And I can't just say, yeah, here you go. What do you think? I have to keep doing this. This is going to take a little while. But, everybody that is tuning in, you're helping, and you're dictating how a lot of these shows go. I mean, you are the reason why I, changed a lot of the setup and went to a different camera. And I just want to give everybody as good quality as I possibly can. I'll never be polished, and I'll never be, this professionally speaking, just, voice for it. It's not me. It never was, and it never will be. But for some reason, after 24 years, people still enjoy this. I don't know why, but I humbly appreciate it. So I feel I gotta give you my best. I just can't get burnt out over it. So that's why you have to understand also the amount of work that I put in for this stuff. I can't be putting extra work in for other people anymore. It's just not the case. And that's it. So I hope everybody enjoys AEW for those that are going to tune in. And even if you don't watch it, if you're around Saturday night, stop by, hear a little of my recap. Maybe based on what I say, might convince you to order it or not order it. If it sucks, the pay-per-view, I will come up here and tell you it sucks. I look at the card from top to bottom. I really, don't see a bad match anywhere. Some people on the card who that I don't, I have no interest in. But I think the card is going to be solid from top to bottom. So everyone have a great night. If I don't talk to you Saturday night, have a nice weekend. And I will catch you all again on Monday, either yours truly solo or with Mish. So everyone, much love. Thank you as always for the support, and you take care. Ciao.